Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
Know your lane for what you saying, yo. Silly with my 9 milli with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, I be wild in the studio. You don't wanna vibe, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. I'm a nigga that'll slap you with the toolie, yo. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, look at shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, make me wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no your lane for what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than fans with my eyes to see. Still $1 in a place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than fans with my eyes to see. Still $1 in a place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva, the Divine Light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than fans with my eyes to see. Still $1 in a place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than fans with my eyes to see. Still $1 in a place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than fans with my eyes to see. Still $1 in a place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than fans with my eyes to see. Still $1 in a place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. On the combo.
Hello, 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 everyone. Good afternoon, guys. It's Diva Divine Light, and I'm back with another one. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day. Good afternoon. Hi, Noonie. Hey, Karen Johnson. What's up, Bev? Hey, Kat. What's up, Loca? Shorty. What's up, my shorty? And everybody else in the bushes. Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, guys? I hope everybody's enjoying their day. Well, as I had told you guys before that I was going through some podcasts and stuff like that through my Script app. And I found some episodes from Nancy Grace, who is a former prosecutor herself. She's a lawyer, ex-lawyer. I don't know if she's still in practice, but she has her own podcast show. Hey, Robin. What's up, mama? And I found her conversations to be very interesting. And these podcast episodes came out in 2019. So, yes, they are old. And it's going to talk about R. Kelly's troubles and what he went through in those couple of times. She's going to talk about, how he complains a lot and how he wants to be set free. Also, his sexual assault charges. She even had an interview with Lisa Van Allen and Greenberg. So, and we're also going to go through the paperwork for the Chicago State trial. And that's where the 4 girls are: Rashonda Landfair, Heather Williams, Lanita Carter, and Geronda Pace. And they're part of the state case. So we're going to go over that paperwork as well. Sounds good, guys? Now give me a thumbs up if you guys hear me loud and clear. Let me know that my internet is not, bouncy. I'm not sounding like Give me a thumbs up, guys, in the chat, please. Let me know my sounds are good. And when I get ready to play this video, I'm going to play the video. Let me know that you guys hear the sound. So if there is any technical issues, I'll fix it right away. Okay? All right. So you guys hear me loud and clear. It sounds good. I don't sound choppy or nothing. Awesome. Thank you. Because over here, I'm getting little signs that are telling me that my internet is being a little unstable. So, okay. Awesome. Now I'm going to share my screen with you. Is it? Oh, wait. Yeah, it's below. Oh, wait, go back. Shit.
I met him when I was 14, and I was like on the fence, and I wanted to know, like, did he really do what everyone said he did?
Here is a man who is going on trial for having sex with an underage girl, and yet you had women not supporting the victim, but supporting the guy who's going on trial.
I screamed at the top of my lungs. What is wrong with this person?
His poor decisions have ruined so many lives. He destroyed my family.
You are hearing from the NBC News Dateline R. Kelly's Lifetime Surviving R. Kelly. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. My big question is, with all of these women now speaking out, how is this guy still walking free? And yes, you know, I've got a defense attorney with me right now, and I know he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. I get it. I went to law school just like everybody else did that's a lawyer. But this is overwhelming. And with me right now is a very special guest, Lisa Van Allen, that I met, and just her poise and her emotion, her recounting, her time with R. Kelly, the musical superstar, nearly broke my heart. And I'm not quite sure why cops and prosecutors aren't making a move on R. Kelly based on Lisa Van Allen alone. Also with me, RadarOnline.com investigative reporter Alexis Tereszcuk, PI, cop turned private investigator and author of Playbook to a Murder, Vincent Hill, Dr. Bethany Marshall. Boy, do I need to shrink on this one. Psychoanalyst out of LA. Nicole DeBoard, former felony prosecutor, now defense attorney. Lisa Van Allen with me. Lisa, at this moment, there is a father and mother out there who claims that R. Kelly, the musical superstar, you know him best probably from I Believe I Can Fly, which shot to the top of the charts. That's his. A father and mother of a girl say their daughter was 90 pounds and looked like a prisoner after she returned from the singer's tour bus and screamed, quote, like a mad woman at the mention of R. Kelly's name. Now, these, quote, rumors have been swirling for years. And I recall when R. Kelly was prosecuted, I mean, it took a darn videotape being sent to the prosecutor's office. I guess the word of the victims wasn't enough. So they go forward with a video of R. Kelly not only having sex with a minor, that's called statutory rape, according to the prosecution, but urinating on her and in her mouth. Okay? The jury acquitted him, claiming that they didn't know if the girl was underage. Okay. Lisa Van Allen, thank you again for being with us. Could you please, as best as you can, tell us how you met R. Kelly and what happened after that?
I met him in 1998 at the Home Alone video shoot. I actually went with a friend of mine's girlfriend. She was an extra, and I went with her, and I was an extra as well. And he actually had his cousin come up to me and told me that he wanted to meet me. I wasn't sure who he was when he told me. He said, Rob wants to meet you. And I was asking who Rob was. And he said, R. Kelly. So I went over to him. I was, surprised because I was only 17 years old, so I didn't expect to meet him. There were tons of grown women there, strippers and other, things like that he could have been interested in meeting, but he picked out the youngest girl in the crowd. And I went over and met him, and he asked me how old I was, and I told him I was 17. His first his second question was, will your mother let you come to Chicago?
Lisa, hold on.
Yeah.
For those of you just joining me, an alleged victim of the superstar R. Kelly, the creator of I Believe I Can Fly. Hold on just a moment. Dr. Bethany Marshall, let me ask Lisa one more question. Lisa,
yeah.
Was this before or after he was tried on that video of the 14-year-old girl?
Before.
So, Dr. Bethany Marshall, the first thing he did, and Lisa Van Allen has been consistent every time she's told her story. First thing he did, he seeks her out. There's all these strippers, grown women everywhere. He comes over to a teen girl and says, "How old are you?" What does that tell you, Dr. Bethany?
It tells me that this is his offending pattern. He wants underage girls, minors, and he wants girls who are pliable, over whom he can have control. And, R. Kelly is setting up a sex cult. So what is he going to do? He's going to go towards the youngest, the most vulnerable members of any group, and he's going to recruit them. He's on a recruiting mission. That's what it tells me.
Back to Lisa Van Allen. She claims that R. Kelly took advantage of her sexually as a young girl. And I believe her. I believe her standing on her own because I've met her. We're not just some disembodied voices over the airwaves. I have met Lisa Van Allen. I have looked her in the eye. I have spoken to her on and off camera. I have evaluated her credibility, her demeanor, the degree of detail. I've compared her current statements to many previous statements for inconsistencies and corroboration. And I can tell you, as a veteran felony prosecutor, if I were better, I would put money that Lisa Van Allen is telling the truth. And I believe a jury would agree with me. Listen.
When we first started having sex, Rob was behind the camera, and I started popping the tapes in to see what was on them. But I came across the one with me, him, and the 14-year-old.
Bootleg copies of the tape start showing up around the country.
This is the one that makes it almost impossible for people to pretend that they did not know that this person had a thing for little girls.
Chicago sometimes contacted me to view tapes that possibly had girls on it that I may have known. That was her, my niece, for sure. And that was him. Police are investigating a video allegedly showing the R&B singer having sex with a 14-year-old girl.
The Chicago Police Department is currently seeking to arrest Mr. Kelly.
Hey guys, let me pause right there because I want to thank our partner making our program possible today. It's Quell. And Alan, R. Kelly comes up to you amongst all the strippers and the women, grown women. He picks out a skinny little girl. And then what happens? Says, "How old are you?" Then what happens? And will your mama let you come to my town?
Right. And then, of course, he knows I'm not going to ask my mother at the video shoot, and we wouldn't have cell phones, back then like now. So I'm assuming he asked that question just to see if I would agree to come, pretty much. You know what I mean? So, so after that, then...
So what did you say?
Yeah. I said, yes, my mother would allow me to come. But, of course, I didn't ask her. You get what I mean?
And that started it. Listen.
R. Kelly is arrested on the Chicago charges. The charges they filed against him were not statutory rape charges. They filed child pornography charges. It's the same penalties, but is easier to prove if you cannot pin it down to a specific date. There was no date on the tape. What about the child porn charges? Right now, guys. He ultimately has to face the charges in a Chicago courtroom. He pleads not guilty and posts his bail, and he's released.
After R. Kelly pleads not guilty,
later found out that she was 2 years younger than that. So because we were headed to one of his video shoots. On the way there, she told me that she was going to be getting a PT Cruiser for her 16th birthday. By me doing the math, of how long ago the first encounter was, it was 2 years prior to that. So if you're just about to turn 16 in a few weeks, then that would have made you 14 when we had the sexual encounter. And the tape that was on trial, she looked exactly the same. Had the same hairstyle, the same, just everything. Everything was exactly the same, even in the same room.
Well, I mean, Lisa, you had a threesome with her.
Right, but
I think you got to know her fairly well, and you
right.
saw her. You saw her, more of her than any of us have seen. And
right.
I'm not judging. I don't care who does what with who, unless it is not consensual or there's a minor involved.
Exactly.
And I think everyone is so in awe, not me, but other people, of R. Kelly, that he has literally gotten away with felonies for decades. I mean, Lisa, his marriage to Aaliyah back in, I just off the top of my head, 1996, she was 15, and he coerced her to lie on the marriage certificate to marry her.
Exactly.
And then when it came out that the certificate was a fraud, her parents had a fit, I'm sure, and they got the thing annulled. And she would never speak of R. Kelly, is my understanding, Lisa.
Well, I know he told me that they had a thing called pins and eyeballs. So no matter if it was pins in her eyeballs or his, they wouldn't speak about it. So.
I want to go back to you. Lisa Van Allen with me, who was lured into R. Kelly's web. So he comes up to you on this video shoot. He picks you out of all these grown women. You're just a skinny little teen girl. Ask if you can come to his town, which I assume is Chicago. Did you go?
Yes, I did. I didn't go immediately. I waited about a month to call him. The main reason was because I didn't know what to talk to him about. I mean, that might sound a little crazy to grown people, but as a young girl, I didn't know what to talk to a grown man, let alone R. Kelly on the phone about. I didn't think he was going to rush me to Chicago. I thought we were going to have a phone conversation. So I waited a while to call him, and then once I did call him, there was no conversation other than him asking, when can we get to Chicago? So I told him whenever, he could get me there. And he put me on the phone with June Brown, which is his assistant to this very day. And June talked me through everything of how to get there. He didn't book it for me, of course, because I was 17 at the time. So they sent me the money, and they actually told me to get my own ticket and where to go and what hotel to go to once I got there and everything. And then they brought me to him once I got to Chicago.
So they, R. Kelly and his people, told you how to book your own ticket. At 17, I would not have known how to book my own ticket. And you did, and used the money.
Yeah, I didn't. No, I didn't have an ID, so I had to go talk me into getting an ID, telling me what all I needed to do to fly.
To Nicole DeBoer joining me, former prosecutor, now criminal defense lawyer. Nicole DeBoer, you've prosecuted a lot of felony cases. And I think this is diabolical, and I'll tell you why. Because
now my question is, guys, she just said she had to go and pay for an ID herself in order for her to jump on the plane. But her age was 17. Now, how old? I've never been on a plane, so I don't know the rules, regulations, none of that shit. So can somebody help me out and tell me, like, what's the regulations for flights for kids, children under 18? And hello to everybody that jumped into the building. Missy. What's up, my sis? I miss you, lady. How you doing, baby? Nuni. West Coast Beja. What's up, baby? T-Baby 42. I love you. My baby girl. Mr. Roger. What's up, boo-boo? Yeah. Can anybody tell me that in the chat? We flew alone at 13. So you were allowed to fly alone at 13? You didn't have to have an adult with you? So what did you have to provide for age? Just a birth certificate? Do you know? Oh, so your mom took it, she bought the tickets, she purchased it, and then she put y'all on a plane. So pretty much Lisa Van Allen was able to get on the plane by herself with just her birth certificate and things like that. Okay. Just wanted to see if maybe, maybe I wondered if she had to make a fake ID for her to jump on the plane. It was just a curiosity. All right. Thank you, guys. I'm going to continue the video.
As they knew how to erase all the evidence of their involvement. It's not him putting on his credit card or his recording studio. She did it. So in years to come, they could go, she just showed up. We didn't even know she was coming.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking to hear this account of what happened. And I have to agree that what adds to the credibility of the story here are the details, the many, many details about when and how and what was said and what the instructions were. So I tend to agree that this is a case that really ought to hold up if the charges would just be accepted.
Alexis Tereshchuk, writeronline.com investigative reporter, what a mind. I want to just think of the right word for that. How to mess with your mind, because one moment he's having sex with these girls and the next moment people are cheering for him and singing gospel music.
Nancy, the thing is, so many people have come forward for so many years with stories about R. Kelly, and the authorities never believed them. Reporters, I have spoken with people who said that they knew victims that were living with R. Kelly for years. We've written stories. The authorities have done nothing because he is so famous and so rich and so powerful, and just no one believed these girls. This is one of the hardest stories to cover as a reporter, when you write things and you write them and no one believes it and nothing happens. The police do nothing. It's so frustrating.
Well, another problem, Vincent Hill, private investigator, author of Playbook to a Murder on Amazon. Vincent, if you listen to what the families are claiming, this one father says that Kelly held Jocelyn Savage, his teenage daughter, that she looked like a prisoner, screamed like a madwoman at the mention of his name during their very upsetting last encounter, that this guy, the dad, Timothy Savage, broke down crying, says she is brainwashed, that she weighed about 90 pounds. She hadn't seen her family in 2 years. She missed the chance to be with her grandfather just before he passed away so she could be with R. Kelly. That they have evidence Kelly locks up women in his homes in Atlanta and Chicago, beats them, and makes them urinate in buckets. Refuses to allow them to contact their families. And it just goes on and on and on. Their daughter, according to them, Jocelyn, disappeared in the middle of the night from a college campus. And the two of them are no slackers. They own 2 clothing boutiques in Atlanta. They sold them to raise money to get their daughter back. They used up all their savings, everything they have. They still don't have their daughter. So if she's going along with it, Vincent Hill, how can it be proven?
Yeah, that's the problem, Nancy. I mean, at this point, Ms. Savage is an adult. I mean, the police, the best they can do is a welfare check. But if she says she's okay, the police have to go with that. They can't get into the psychological piece with maybe there's some Stockholm syndrome or something like that, which is unfortunate. If she says she's okay, police have to go with that. And that's the biggest problem here, at least with that case, unfortunately, Nancy.
Otherwise, I can't be held responsible for how this fight ends when you're a mangled
Dollars back. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel,
soon after that, that kind of died down because another city and Chicago. Initially, when I got there, being so young, it was a bit exciting to travel to another city and to meet, him and to hang out and hear his music and things like that. But soon after that, that kind of died down because he asked me to do a threesome with him. And the way he got me to do it was he told me he had never had one before. And with me thinking that I'm his girlfriend, I felt, kind of obligated to do that for him if he had never had one before and he's a superstar. You know what I mean? I'm like, girls are always throwing themselves at him and he's never had one before, so I'll go ahead and do it.
She thought that was her boyfriend.
And after we had it, it just became just something that he always wanted to do. Threesomes with different girls. So what happened? I would get very upset. I'd cry. More often than not, I cry about it, and he would always try to give me like pep talks about how it was just sex and it didn't hold any emotion to him, and how a lot of times he didn't know the girl's name. If I could just do it and get it over with, so it would be
R. Kelly and his little pep talks. Always trying to convince somebody to be somebody, to do somebody. He's from what I understand, he likes those pep talks. He does pep talks. As you can see, like when he did that video and he was sitting around with the guys and he said it's too late. They should have did this shit 30 years ago. He was sitting there having pep talks. That's what he does. Gaslights people. Everybody in the goddamn room. A lot of people are hypnotized by this man. You hear me? That's crazy. It's sad.
A lot of trauma involved for me because, it was something that I didn't want to do, and I felt, that I had to do it for him, especially since I had already done it. You know what I mean? But, once we did it more than once, I realized it was a lie, but I was already caught up into it, and I ended up living there with him. He was taking care of me, I didn't have my job anymore at the mall, so it kind of was like I really didn't have a choice.
When he would try to give you, as you refer to it, as pep talks, you told me that he would say things like, if you love me, you wouldn't try to change me.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would say that. And he'd say things he would say that's what his mother told him. If a woman loves him, she won't try to change him.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, well, him and his mother will know better than me. If I'm a child, what do I know about what a grown woman should do or what, to please a man, so.
Right. She's 17 years old. He's in his late 30s or early 40s, something like that. Yeah, she's going to do whatever she has to do to please this man. Like, she's a little girl. She figured, oh my God, he has interest in me out of all the girls in this room. Like, what? See, and like I say, people don't look at that as predatorial. People see that as human nature. Girls like us, we didn't see that as predatory back in the day. A lot of people still don't see that way. They just see it as nature happens. Nature happens. Yeah, but it's against the law. It's a problem. It's pedophilia. It's disgusting. And it's against the law. But when we were kids doing this shit, we didn't notice that. We didn't see that. We didn't hear about things like that. If we did have issues in our home with molestation and by our own family members, it was sweep everything under the rug. Don't say nothing. What goes on in this house stays in this house. You shut the fuck up. You keep it fucking moving. You'll live to see another day. But yet you're torturing and you're dying inside. You're damaged. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about the damage that's done to you. They just care about protecting the family, the name, the brand. What about the child that was abused? How could you forget about us? I understand why R. Kelly was so upset with his mother. She didn't do anything about it. She just took that money and ran. And swept it under the rug. And he figured he could do that throughout his life. If it happened to him when he was a kid, he could do it to someone else. Here, pay you off, shut up, sweep it under the rug. It's okay. I can go on with life. His mother was a great example. Now I understand why he didn't give his mother a headstone. He left her with a little plaque in the ground. He didn't go visit her when she was on her dying bed. He didn't buy her a home. He didn't buy her a car. From what I hear, she was driving the neighborhood with some fucking hoopty. And he's driving around with Benzes and Sprinters. He's had it out for women this whole time. He has a revenge. He seeks revenge. And then he does it because he likes it. And then he keeps all these things as trophies for his memories, so he could feel good about what he did. Because what he did was not wrong in his eyes. But not all people that get abused, abuse. He's one of those people that just so happen to become a victimizer. He became an abuser, a user, an evil person who did damage to a lot of people. And like I say, a lot of people are done. That's why a lot of people turn their backs on him. They're tired. It's about time that things change. That's why he's there. Let's continue.
Go on with what he told me. I guess that's right.
At this time, you were 17, and how old was he?
31.
When you hear these claims by Johnson Savage's dad,
hey James,
that they have evidence that R. Kelly has,
hey lovely fair,
won't let them call their families, makes them urinate in buckets. What do you make of that, Lisa Van Allen?
I believe them. I do. I also believe that he is getting worse over time. Things weren't as bad as they are now back then. He didn't have a harem of women living with him.
What's up, lovely fair? What's up, Robin?
And would be in different rooms in the studio, and you did have to get permission to walk through the hallways in the studio. So all that stuff is very valid. It's just really good.
Okay, wait. What did you just say about getting permission?
Right, you'd have to call down to the runners for the people at the front desk and ask them for permission to, go through the hallway, whether it was to leave out the building, whether it was to if the room you're in didn't have a bathroom, whether it's to use the bathroom or whatever. You have to make sure the hallway was clear first before you could walk through. But that's anyone. That wasn't just the women. I mean, anyone that was in the studio for him pretty much had to do that. And, a lot of celebrities have accounted for that as well. That's why they don't like to work with him.
So in your mind, what was the worst thing you had to endure during your time with R. Kelly?
So he had to always make sure that the hallways were clear and nobody was in the hallway, and if you had to leave a room, you had to call the front desk. When you were in the studio, you had to call the front desk to make sure you can walk out, to go to the bathroom or go to the lobby or go out the door, like she said, to go outside and exit the place. Nobody was allowed to be in the hallways at any point, anytime, especially if he's in the hallway. That's how he controlled his ship. It was all about control with him. It like his brother said, a lot of it got too much to his head. It got too much to his head. It did. And the people being yes men just didn't help. It made it worse. And then all the love and support that he got from his fans, that he says are groupies who are chasing him, because this is what he says. He claims to his lawyers that all these girls are all groupies who are chasing him. He's not chasing them. They're chasing him. His fans. He calls them groupies. The ones that go to his concerts and things like that and want to see him backstage. Those are all groupies. He considers his fans to be groupies. The fan addicts. The groupies. I wonder, how do the supporters feel about how R. Kelly feels about them? That they're all groupie hoes chasing him. Every last one of his fans that come to see him are considered groupie hoes who are chasing him. They pay money to see him. Thank God I was never that. I just liked his music. I just went to the music store and purchased a CD and a cassette. That's it. That's all. Never was a groupie hoe, as he considers his fans that go to see him. They all groupie hoes chasing me. They disgruntled groupies once I have them. That's what he says. You see that? Huh. But anyway. What's up, Vanetta? Hi, baby. Right? Right. So they could or couldn't come and go as they pleased. Exactly. No one was allowed to come and go as they please. No one. Lisa said no one. Didn't matter who the hell you were. It didn't matter who you were. You needed permission.
I would say having me sleep with the underage girl would be the worst because that sticks with me. Yeah.
Joining me, Alexis Charles-Check, Vincent Hill, Dr. Bethany Marshall, and Nicole DeBoard. To Dr. Bethany Marshall, I imagine that this would change you for the rest of your life to live through what she lived through.
Well, absolutely, because getting co-opted into a sex cult has layers of trauma. First of all, she is persuaded and manipulated to go along with him without telling her mother. So this is step one of how cult leaders recruit their members, right? They cut them off from their family and friends. Then they get them to beat their jobs, so they have no financial support, no way of leaving. Then the cult leaders, and this is what
R. Kelly did is that he got a bunch of other people to act in concert with him to control his victims. I mean, this is what we see in Scientology. This is what we saw in the Jimmy Jones cult. We see in super religious structures is that there is one very strong cult leader who then gets kind of like henchmen all around him to like then have control over the younger, more vulnerable members of the cult. And then you were talking about the gospel singing. You know, it's so interesting because all of these cult leaders are super religious, right? They all think that they have the direct line to God, and they use that to control their members. But I think back to your question of trauma, to make somebody engage in sexual acts against their will, I think it's one of the worst forms of trauma that a person can be subjected to. And this happened to our guests on the show many times and in many ways. And so this is something obviously that's going to stick with her for a long, long time.
To Nicole DeBoer, former prosecutor, current defense attorney. Nicole, I don't understand why charges have not been brought.
I have to agree with you. It seems absurd at this point that they haven't taken some kind of action. They have someone who's willing to describe exactly what happened and give it in such detail that there's sufficient evidence for a case to go to a jury. So to me, it sounds like it should just be a matter of time.
Guys, we are talking to an alleged victim of R. Kelly, Lisa Van Allen. Lisa, has anyone ever approached you about filing charges?
Not lately. You know, I did testify in the trial in 2008, but not lately. No one has come forward.
He was arrested again. He was in Miami, and it was on additional porn charges.
We seized at that time camera equipment and 12 digital photos, which we believe to be child pornography.
They're just saying that anything say porn or anything to get.
I remember being at my brother and sister-in-law's house and the detectives showing us stills.
Hey, Aisha.
It wasn't a pretty sight. They showed my niece, Robert, and another young lady intertwined. And I screamed at the top of my lungs, what the is going on? What is going on? What is wrong with this?
I wonder who was the other girl. I wonder if it was Lisa. I wonder if it was pictures of him with Lisa and Rashonda. Because allegedly those pictures were with Rashonda Landfair. So it was with Rashonda Landfair, R. Kelly with another girl, intertwined.
You are hearing from Surviving R. Kelly on Lifetime. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. With us right now is an alleged victim of the musical superstar R. Kelly. Joining us now is R. Kelly's defense lawyer, Steve Greenberg. Mr. Greenberg, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Well, I'm angry. I'm concerned. A little sick to my stomach.
Are we all?
No, actually, I'm not. I would not be angry if your client, R. Kelly, Robert Kelly, went ahead and turned himself in. Then I'd be happy.
For what?
Because it's hard for me to believe, Mr. Greenberg, that all of these women are, I assume you've seen the Lifetime special, Surviving R. Kelly, that they're all lying and your client is the only one telling the truth.
Well, fortunately, you're not judge and jury, so that happens to be the case.
Well, I know that. I'm just asking you, how can that be?
Sparkle told her story back when Mr. Kelly was arrested.
Nobody was talking about Sparkle. Nobody was talking about Sparkle. Why he even talk about Sparkle? Leave Sparkle alone.
Charged here in Illinois more than a decade ago, and the jury didn't believe her then. She was just retelling the same story that no one believed. The young lady who she claimed was in the video said it wasn't her. The young lady's mother said it wasn't her. The young lady's father said it wasn't her. So, you know, I don't know why everyone wants to believe Sparkle when the people who are supposedly closest to the situation all say she's not correct.
Well, okay, you know what? Let's move from Sparkle. Sparkle is the aunt of the 14-year-old girl in the video, according to the indictment. The jury said they could not determine that she was 14 or who she was. With me today is Lisa Van Allen, who lived with R. Kelly, who says she was picked out of a group of women on a video shoot, strippers, grown women. He comes straight over to a skinny teen girl and says, "How old are you? Will your mama let you come to Chicago?" She gets there and he immediately enlists her for sex and a threesome. Now, forget about Sparkle and the incident of the 14-year-old girl in the video who was having sex with R. Kelly and got urinated on. I'm going to try to put that out of my mind, Steve Greenberg. Now I'm talking about Lisa Van Allen, who's with me right now. In Chicago, at that time, the age of consent was 17. Now they have enacted that retroactive, no statute of limitation law. So explain to me how your client, Mr. Kelly, was not doing exactly what Lisa Van Allen says he was doing.
Well, again, it's Lisa Van Allen saying it years later. There's no evidence that what she said is true. There's no witnesses, no photographs, no nothing. So, I don't know why these people.
There was no evidence. R. Kelly kept the whole fucking video of him taunting her, yelling at her, and then taking her into the other room and beating her. What are you talking about? There was videos with her and him on the tape. There was pictures intertwined with Rashad Landfair. It could have been her in those pictures. She did live in Florida for a little while. Because all that shit, them pictures were found in Florida.
We're coming forward now. I know that there are dozens of people who say that Mr. Kelly did nothing wrong. He was always with large entourages, obviously as a performer.
Well, why does he have all these young women living at his place? Not only in Chicago, but Atlanta too.
I don't know who was living at his place, Nancy. I was never invited over.
Well, you're his defense attorney. You've never been to his place?
I've been to his place here where he's got two lovely women living there, one of whose father is this savage guy who's running all over saying his daughter is a hostage. I know the Chicago police did a well-being check.
Hey, well, did you just say he's got two women living with him?
He has two women who live with him, yeah. Lucky man.
And how old are they?
They're adults.
How old are they?
They're adults.
He said, lucky man. Are you fucking kidding me, Greenberg? Really? Oh, hell no. Greenberg. Lord have mercy.
They're adults.
Repeat, how old are they?
How old are they?
Yes.
They're in their 20s.
And how long have they been living with him?
I can't give you the exact time, but they were both.
Ooh, I bet you could. I bet you could.
Tell them, Nancy.
I can tell you that. And the police went over and they talked to them. They said these are two lovely young ladies who are happy.
I know who they are, Jocelyn Savage and Osriel Cleary. Right. I'm looking right at them.
Right.
And they're with a female, quote, minder. They all travel in an entourage with R. Kelly. It's like a harem. In some countries that's okay. Not so much here in the U.S.
Well, I would think that if there was a problem when the police went over and talked to them alone, without whatever you call a harem or a handler or whatever, the police found there was nothing wrong. So why don't we respect that?
Yeah, because he told them to shut the fuck up and don't say nothing. You're okay.
And say there's nothing wrong, because that's what the investigation concluded.
Steve Greenberg, you know what you are? You know what you are? You're a darn good defense lawyer. Because you're like, have you ever seen those snake charmers in the other countries when they sit in front of I guess it's a cobra, and they wind one way, the snake winds that way.
I'm pretty sure he is now.
The snake goes the other way and they go right along. See, that's what you're doing to me right now, but you're making it seem like it's all okay. that why not have these women living with him? They're adults. You know what? I watched the one woman giving her video statement. She kept looking off to the side. Somebody was telling her what to say. And in her statement that she gave, saying how she's fine and she's there willingly, somebody wrote that for her. They even misspelled her name. You want me to think she couldn't spell her own name in her written statement? I mean, stop it, Steve. This is Lisa Van Allen with me. You're hearing R. Kelly's defense lawyer, Steve Greenberg.
You heard what she said?
And that's
I'm going to go back.
how he wins his cases. The way he spins it out, it sounds so believable. Allen with me. You're hearing R. Kelly's defense lawyer, Steve Greenberg. And that's how he wins his cases. The way he spins it out, it sounds so believable. But you were there, Lisa.
Exactly.
What happened when he asked you to have a threesome with an underage girl, according to you?
Right. Yeah. When he would ask me to have threesomes, you know, I cry. I get upset. And he would say, I mean, in one with the young lady that we're speaking of from trial, when I cried about that one, he got upset and said, what am I going to do with this tape? What can I do with this? How can I watch this if you won't hear crying? You know, I mean, he really got upset that he couldn't watch that tape later with the 14-year-old and 17-year-old on it.
Hit me.
I mean, he called himself the Pied Piper. Can his lawyer explain that? Do you know what the Pied Piper is? The Pied Piper is a man who lures children away from their family.
Do you, Steve Greenberg, know what the Pied Piper is?
I do.
Okay, what? If you know what the Pied Piper is, what is it?
I cannot explain people's nicknames, and that's not really.
You don't have to explain it. You don't have to explain it. I mean, the evidence is there. I mean, go to the county courthouse. How many women have you paid off that were underage? Do you pay off people when you're not guilty?
I think 12.
Do you do that when you're not guilty?
Or is that the right number, Steve? Steve, is that the right number?
They was drilling him.
Where you paid money to make their claim go away in civil court.
Nancy, beyond saying that people settle civil cases for all sorts of reasons, including the cost of litigation. Any settlement, which I have never seen, are, my understanding when people explain them, are supposed to be confidential, and therefore I believe that if I was not involved in those cases, if they exist, I wasn't a lawyer on it, and if I say anything about it, I would be subject to discipline from the courts here. So I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
Since Rob is not, since he believes that Robert didn't do any of these things, why don't they have Rob and all of us young ladies do lie detector tests? They don't prove who's telling the truth and who's not. I'm not saying in the court of law, period. Just record it.
Well, would he agree to a lie detector, Steve Greenberg?
I'll ask him.
When will justice be sought? R. Kelly's still living in 6 properties across the country, 6 properties that reportedly house women in each one. It is like a harem, but it ain't over yet. Please join me tomorrow for part.
Judge Lynon Weber set a trial date of April 27th. That's despite arguments by R. Kelly's attorneys for more time, since this is just one of 4 ongoing cases against the singer. R. Kelly said nothing as he stood through this morning's hearing in an orange jail jumpsuit. His attorneys argued for more time, given what they called voluminous discovery in this case, which includes 2 co-defendants. Those former associates allegedly helped Kelly to pay off witnesses in his 2008 child porn trial and buy back incriminating sex tapes. Ahead of today's hearing, prosecutors had the Grammy winner moved into the general jail population from solitary confinement after a defense motion claiming harsh restrictions
and then it
for
goes
an
and it says
unconvicted man awaiting
channel
trial.
monetization.
I think if you saw Robert
membership,
today,
it says overview,
he
ads,
looks
and
probably the best
memberships.
he's looked since this ordeal began. You can see kind of an unburdening of his spirit, the fact that he's now in general population.
The singing sensation R. Kelly moved into general population.
You see it?
And the strangest part of his argument was when prosecutors dismissed treatment claims by R. Kelly, claiming that he had been living it up, buying tons of snacks from the commissary, including Snickers bars, kicking back, kind of a hero behind bars. Long story short, R. Kelly, you're going to trial. All the whining about life behind bars, when according to prosecutors, he's been holding women in his, quote, compounds, underage girls, and molesting them. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. With me, Levi Page, crimeonline.com investigative reporter. What's the latest with R. Kelly?
Nancy, R. Kelly is wanted by the courts after a bench warrant was issued for his arrest in Minnesota for failure to appear. And this was just a 2-minute hearing, but senior Hennepin County attorney Judith Cole said that no attorney had been in contact with her office or filed a certificate of representation for R. Kelly. And remember, Nancy, he's facing 2 counts of engaging in prostitution with a person under 18 in Minnesota, and this bench warrant is non-voluntary. So he has to show up to court next time. And here's the thing, Kelly is currently being held in the Federal Metropolitan Correctional Facility in Chicago on sex crimes charges. Kelly's attorney, Steve Greenberg, has disputed that his client failed to appear in Minnesota. He said on Twitter, quote, "I was not served with any notice of court proceedings, nor was he. I did not resist his appearance, nor did he." He also pointed out, Nancy, that R. Kelly is in custody. Greenberg says it is the prosecutor who must obtain a court order for R. Kelly to appear, and it's the prosecutor who must go get him if he is in custody somewhere else. They do not just give him a travel pass from federal custody. That's from Steve Greenberg, his lawyer. And Nancy, the Illinois U.S. Attorney's Office has apparently told the Minnesota courts that it will not make Kelly available until after his federal case is all finished. And this criminal complaint says in 2001 that a minor approached R. Kelly, asked him for an autograph, and he gave the 17-year-old his number. When she met Kelly, he gave her $200 to dance for him, and he allegedly touched her sexually. And this is all on top of R. Kelly being moved in the general population, Nancy. And
that's the case for the Minnesota case, where he solicited the young girl to go back to the hotel with him, and he fondled her while he was fondling himself. And then he paid her and she left.
And what is so odd about this is that his lawyers have complained about mistreatment in jail, yet there's a recorded phone call that prosecutors say they have where he's bragging about how popular he is. And he even did not want to be in general population at one time because he said that he was so popular, people would be coming up to him all the time. So he didn't even want to be in general population. So his claims of mistreatment are not very credible considering the fact that he's bragged about how popular he is.
Take a listen to this.
Earlier today, Robert Kelly was indicted before a Cook County grand jury on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 victims. The first victim, initials HW, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 26, 1998 and May 25, 1999. A grand jury returned an indictment on 4 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. The second victim, initials RL, was involved in an incident which occurred between September 26, 1998 and September 25, 2001. A grand jury returned an indictment on 2 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victims being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than that victim. The third victim, initials LC, was involved in an incident which occurred February 18, 2003. A grand jury returned an indictment on one count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the transmission of semen by Robert Kelly upon any part of the body of the victim for the purpose of sexual gratification during the course of an underlying felony of attempt criminal sexual assault. The fourth victim, initials JP, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 1st, 2009 and January 31st, 2010. A grand jury returned an indictment on the three counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. Aggravated criminal sexual abuse is a Class 2 felony with a sentencing range of 3 to 7 years per count. It is also probationable.
You are hearing there the prosecutor, Kimberly Fox in Cook County, but you're never going to believe this.
What's up, Cheeky?
Defense attorneys and all of R. Kelly's supporters, including his two girlfriends, were in court, want him released. Listen to our friend at WGN-TV. This is Nancy Lou.
Kelly's attorneys are asking the judge to release the R&B singer while he waits for trial, arguing that he's not a danger to the community because many of the allegations are decades old. They also don't think Kelly should have prisoners as roommates. Kelly's attorneys are arguing that he should get to live with his not one, but two girlfriends in a secure facility such as a townhouse.
A place that's appropriate, that'll be safe for him, and that can house the women that are part of his relationship. So we can't tell you where he'd be living.
His federal trial in the Northern District of Illinois is slated for April 27, 2020, and it's expected to last about 3 weeks. In the meantime, he'll likely need to appear for dozens of hearings in regards to his...
So remember now, Joy lives in a townhouse somewhere close to the courts because that was the stipulation that they made. So that if he got released from jail, he would be close to the courts so that they can trust that he wasn't going to flee. So they had to find a townhouse nearby. So Joy's in a townhouse somewhere in, downtown Chicago? Is that where the courts is at?
3 other cases in New York, Minnesota, and Cook County.
I'm surprised he's still standing because there's been so much coming at him, but he does have family support still.
We heard from Kelly's younger sisters, Lisa and Cassandra Kelly, for the first time since Kelly's arrest in July for sex abuse, child pornography, and obstruction of justice. They were joined by a group of R. Kelly supporters who traveled to Chicago for this morning's hearing.
He don't like little girls. He don't mess with 14 to 15 to 6-year-old.
Kelly's close friends argued that Lifetime's Surviving R. Kelly documentary poisoned the public against the singer, and he'll be acquitted again.
Wait, now I have something to say about that. You see how the supporters said R. Kelly does not like little girls, 14, 15, 16-year-old little girls. Well, I'll be damned. A supporter actually thinks that a 14, 15, 16-year-old is a little girl. Because out here, everybody's screaming that these were not little girls. They were fast-ass girls. They weren't little girls. They grown because they 14, 15, 16. They grown. Wow. Somebody actually said it. These were little girls. 14, 15, 16 are considered little girls. Thank you for that.
Meanwhile, federal prosecutors have argued that Kelly's acquittal was due to the fact that he manipulated the victims and their families.
That's our friend at WGN-TV, Nancy Lou. Now, as you were just hearing from HomeOnline.com investigative reporter Levi Page, R. Kelly has just been moved out of solitary confinement and in the general population. But prosecutors are fighting back against claims by his defense team he was held in solitary
against his will. And they point very clearly to recorded jailhouse calls. P.S. All the calls to jail are recorded.
This is an interview from 2000, a podcast show from 2019. So that's why she's saying all of that. This is old. So he's in New York now, but at this time he was in the MCC in Chicago.
Okay, and there's a warning that you hear when you accept a call from the jail that it's from a jail. Okay. On those calls, he explained why he refused to go in the general population when it had been offered. And he claims he was worried about his fame making him too popular among, quote, regular inmates. Who does he think he is? Special? Quote, if I go to population, I'm just up on everybody and everybody's up on me, and I'm trying to figure out how to trust that or whatever. He goes on to talk about why he doesn't want, quote, too many people up on you. I've seen too many movies, and it's just that I'm so popular here. It's like, yeah, man. Okay.
He's so cocky. You heard what she said about him? That he said the reason why he didn't want to be in general population, reason why he wanted to go into solitary, and then he started crying when he was in solitary. The fuck? Oh, man.
That's my note.
The perfect time to give it a shot. The app is so easy to use. Gambling problem? Call 1-877.
One woman that was an adult and sexually abusing three.
Gambling problem? Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
He also has charges in a federal indictment.
Every playoff moment, no more. 21 plus and present in New York. First online, real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call.
Using three girls scheduled to start in April of 2020, and he's accused of assaulting one woman that was an adult and sexually abusing three girls that were minors. He also has charges in a federal indictment in New York where he's accused of racketeering, where he and his cohorts are alleged to have found underage girls at concerts, groomed them later for sexual abuse, and then
that's why he got beat up, because he was so popular. He got beat up because he was so popular. That's what happened. Because they came to the MCC, started shouting that they wanted to do a wellness check on R. Kelly, raid the fucking lobby, and the jail went on lockdown, and R. Kelly got beat up.
Pay them off. He also had allegedly made tapes of his encounters, sexual encounters, rape of these young women, and some of the tapes had gone missing, and he was paying a bunch of money to get them back, and that's where the racketeering charges come in. And he's also charged in.
You heard what that defense guy, this guy just said right now? He said, this is where the racketeering charges came about because of the federal Chicago case where he obstructed justice and did a conspiracy to fraud the government. So because it was him, June Brown, Daryl McDavid, and Keith Murrell, and Jack Palladino, and all these other players, Lisa Van Allen, it was a conspiracy to defraud the government, right? So that's where the racketeering charges came about. So it was never about R. Kelly being a one-man enterprise. It was about the fact that the obstruction of justice charges came about as a conspiracy to defraud the government. So therefore, him and his entourage, Daryl McDavid and June Brown, That's how they were able to draw up a racketeering charge, along with interviewing all the other players that were in his camp. All those people just were back up to corroborate the enterprise, that it was a real enterprise. He did have moving parts to help him to lure girls for his own sexual gratification. He forced labor on these girls every time he would make them have sex with other people in groups and then pay them by giving them allowances, taking them shopping, getting their hair done, their nails done, things like that. He didn't love them. None of them. None of them. They were all just a piece of meat for him. That's it. Just girls to just get him off. That's it. That's all. He did treat them like prostitutes, but they didn't know that. They didn't see that. He gaslighted them to think they were in relationships with this man. These are my girlfriends. But how am I your girlfriend, but yet to everybody else, we're your babies? How am I your girlfriend? We're your pets. We're your babies. We're your family. Yous are sisters. How is that a girlfriend? It's not a girlfriend. The fuck? Let's continue.
Minnesota.
Hey, I am Queen. What's up, mama?
Jurisdictions are coming down on him with his long history of allegedly preying on young women. And not only him, the people that work for him too. His manager is one of the cohorts that was involved in this as well. It's very disturbing.
To Troy Slayton joining us now from LA, renowned defense attorney Troy Slayton. His defense team is claiming that he was subjected to, quote, cruel and unusual punishment behind bars due to his celebrity status. And the prosecutors point out, they claim that he had no meaningful interaction with other humans. This is by defense attorney Steve Greenberg, who I've spoken to many times. But prosecutors say Kelly has had access to indoor recreation area 3 times a week, that he has had 3 different cellmates despite his claim he has had no interaction with other humans, and that he's living it up in the commissary. What about that? Doesn't sound too bad to me.
Cruel and unusual punishment is prohibited by the Constitution. And
if it happens,
being inside solitary confinement isn't like in the movies. It's not like Shawshank Redemption, where you're in the hole and everything is black and a little slit opens up where food, bread and water is pushed through a hole.
Bread and water, that's not true. Why do you even say that? Why are you saying that? That's not true.
Nancy, solitary confinement, I'm saying, is not like that. It can be simply not being able to communicate with other people and having a cellmate who is put in with you, who is being punished for his own reasons. There are reports that one of the people that they put in with R. Kelly was being punished for making homemade shivs. That's homemade stabbing devices in jail, and that's why he was being punished in solitary confinement. So it seems like the jailers...
Oh, I thought it was because, as he said in his own words, he was too popular for GP. He said that. He said that. It's on a tape recording. I don't care how much you want to doctor it up. You can go on and put perfume on the pig. But he's the one that said he's just too popular for GP.
It looks like they were trying to punish him, trying to intimidate him by separating him from people, which can cause a normal person to go crazy.
He wanted solitary. He's the one that asked for it.
Well, clearly his attorneys were arguing against it, and they wanted him to be able to interact with 30 or 40 people on a regular floor, where he can have some sort of meaningful human interaction and daily recreation. He had no act.
Now, Nancy is telling the truth. You want to know why? Because I actually have the complaint of the incident where R. Kelly said he don't care about having a cellie. He don't want no cellmate. He don't want no cellie. He want to be left alone. He got a write-up for that shit. Yes, he did.
Access to TV. He had no access to the outside of his.
Wait. No access to TV.
He hasn't been convicted of a crime. He's really
no access to TV. I can't believe you even said that. I got another question confounding me. It's Dr. Daniel Bober joining me out of the Florida jurisdiction. Forensic psychiatrist. Dr. Bober, who are these women? Who are these people? R. Kelly supporters turning out in court. What is wrong with them?
Yes, these are the same people that are obsessed with serial killers, who are groupies. They're obsessed by fame and they want to be around famous people. And this guy is basically doing the same thing in prison that he did in real life, which is why he's in prison, which is he doesn't think the rules apply to him and he's special because he's a celebrity and he didn't do anything wrong.
Back to you, Troy Slade. I found out another cruel and unusual punishment is being inflicted on him. According to his lawyers, he's quite miserable in jail because he's not been allowed to read his fan mail. Sorry, just coughing, not laughing.
So you mean you're
translating? So he's miserable because he can't read his fan mail.
Somebody who has been not convicted of a crime, who is merely being jailed because he is accused of a crime. So he is
a lot of crimes on children.
Do you still believe in someone being innocent until proven guilty?
Hey, this is not about me. This is not about what I believe. This is about him. Saying cruel and unusual punishment is because he can't read his fan mail.
Keeping him from correspondence, a person who's not been convicted, does seem improper. Does not seem right.
Mm-hmm. He gets visits. He has recreation. He's chowing down on one Snickers bar after the next. Doesn't sound cruel to me. I don't see how you can have full access, Joseph Scott Morgan, to the commissary. Joseph Scott Morgan, with me, forensics expert, author of Blood Beneath My Feet. Full access to.
Now, I got something to say. You see this picture, guys, that's up on the screen? Look at this picture very well. Look at it very, very well. Look at it. Real good. Real good. Does this picture look familiar? Exactly, overage groupies. Did you hear what the guy said? Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Just like The Truth. She did a video, I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before or something, talking about the groupies. Like that's what they are, old groupies. Like, Lord have mercy. Nancy needs her own show back. She lost her podcast show? Because you could look her up on Spotify. I left the link in the description to where I found the interviews, to where I found her episodes. Yeah, overage groupies. Now, guys, I have a question. Do you look at R. Kelly's face, and does this face look familiar to you? Have you seen this side profile or face anywhere? All right, guys, if you think about the videos that we have seen, right? The videos, the snippets of the infamous video, right? You guys have seen the snippets. If for those who didn't see the actual video, you guys who have seen snippets of it, you know, and they're always saying that it's Damon Pryor and look at the side view and this and that and that's not him, it's Damon Pryor. Look at this picture very, very well. Look at this picture very, very well.
Yep, nuts in the mouth.
You see it?
Yep, 2 jingle bells.
That's R. Kelly. This is R. Kelly. Now, for those who say it's not R. Kelly on the videotape, screenshot this picture and put it side by side with the video pictures, and you will see that this is R. Kelly, and it's R. Kelly on the tape. Okay? Just a little jewel for you guys. Okay? All right. Let me continue.
The commissary, you see your lawyers every day, and you're whining because you don't have a TV and you can't read your fan mail.
Well, I got to tell you, Nancy, Mr. Kelly better live high off the hog while he can, because it would appear to me that the authorities, all of the investigators involved in this, I was listening to that roll call that was played earlier, where that recitation of all of these charges, they have got such a litany of evidence that is going to be brought against Mr. Kelly in this case.
Whoa. Wait, please. With me, Professor Forensic Jackson.
Listen to how he describes the evidence that the government has. I want people to understand what kind of stuff they found in storage, and they also found in his home in the Trump Towers when they did the search warrant there. He's going to describe what kind of depictions there are going to be put in the trial. You know, because they always say, oh, there was no video evidence, there was no this, there was no that, no this and no that. This man is going to explain to you exactly everything that there is that they have in evidence.
State University. Let's talk about the evidence so I can quit arguing with Troy Slayton about Snickers and fan mail. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's detail the evidence, Joe Scott.
One of the most glaring things that they mentioned, as disgusting as it is, was that apparently there's ejaculate that has been left behind by Mr.
Why do you talk like that?
Well, I don't know.
Why do you say ejaculate? Nobody knows what you're talking about. You're talking about sperm.
I am.
Okay.
Semen
There you go.
And so
semen.
Yeah, and so you're going to see, I believe, if the police have handled this correctly, you're going to literally see a molecular connection between Kelly and his victims. It doesn't matter if these young women were maybe consensual in some way. This is statutory rape. He's been involved with children, Nancy. And also, you've got this long line of electronic evidence that they're going to present, things like phone calls, things like phone records, things like videography that he has attempted to buy back. They have evidence of that. It's going to be a very difficult road to go down for Mr. Kelly and his defense.
When you refer to videotapes, what are you talking about, Joe Scott?
Well, with the videography that they have, he's actually engaged allegedly in sexual acts with these children, these underage women that he has been engaging with. And not only him, but also some of his associates, allegedly. So you're going to have this connection of all of these people. And let me tell you something. When the pot of gold dries up and all these people around him are connected to this and they realize what they're faced with, you'll start seeing people sing like a bird when they're faced with the idea that, look, we were just here as peripheral participants. He's really the bad guy. And I bet that they're going to get some of these people to flip on him.
And that's exactly what happened. All his people decided to turn. They jumped ship, said, fuck that shit. If I can get immunity instead of getting arrested, then I'm going to say what I got to say as far as everything that I know. A lot of them held back. We know some of them held back because there could have been more that was told. But they still took the stand against R. Kelly. And he was convicted in New York. 9 charges.
we were just here as peripheral participants. They realize what they're faced with. You'll start seeing people sing like a bird when they're faced with the idea that, look, we were just here as peripheral participants. He's really the bad guy. And I bet that they're going to get some of these people to flip on him.
Under the circumstances, I'm surprised he's still standing because there's so much coming at him.
The other three cases might proceed. Those are in Illinois.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get it to
with these children, these underage women that he has been engaging with, and not only him, but also some of his associates allegedly. So you're going to have this connection of all of these people. And let me tell you something. When the gold dries up and all these people around him are connected to this and they realize what they're faced with, you'll start seeing people sing like a bird when they're faced with the idea that, look, we were just here as peripheral participants. He's really the bad guy. And I bet that they're going to get some of these people to flip on him.
Unclear how the other three cases might proceed. Those are in Illinois, New York, as well as Minnesota. Later this month, the defense will argue for reconsideration of bond and possible release, with Kelly's two girlfriends serving as custodians. They were in court today, along with a number of fans and some relatives, including two of Kelly's sisters.
He's brave. He's holding up. Thank God for that. He has faith that everything's going to work out the way it should, under the circumstances. I'm surprised he's still standing because there's so much coming at him. But, he does have family that supports him.
The April 27th trial date is tentative since it's unclear how the other three cases might proceed. Those are in Illinois, New York, as well as Minnesota. In this case, prosecutors expect a trial to last about 3 weeks.
That's our friend at WGN TV, Nancy Liu. It's kind of amazing to John Cardillo, former NYPD, that it took a documentary on Lifetime surviving R. Kelly to bring about many charges after one jury acquitted him out of Chicago many, many years ago. What about that, John Cardillo? It took a documentary on Lifetime.
Yeah, I feel like we've been talking about this case since 1978, right? But it does show a troubling truth, in that when you're a wealthy celebrity and you have millions of dollars to spend on your defense, and this guy is very wealthy, a lot of hit songs, that there's a different standard of justice for you. And he's had the best lawyers. He's been able to hold things at bay, and his lawyers are, I find it ludicrous. This guy they're using solitary confinement, which is even a misnomer. He was in administrative segregation, which is common for celebrities. Typically, it's like a dorm type room, jail cell. He's not in there, in the whole nude in a filthy room with rats running around the floor and it's stone and he's given a filthy blanket to sleep on. This is just him once again playing the victim and martyr. And I think the travesty here is that these victims are being they're being vilified. He's got these moronic, I don't want to call them fans, they're cultists who are coming out crying for this guy who was a child sexual predator. And his victims are having to relive this over and over and over again. So hopefully the feds, which have a much higher conviction rate than the state and a lot of resources at their disposal, hopefully the DOJ can finally put this guy behind bars, because I disagree with his lawyers and those supporters.
Take a listen to Lisa Van Allen, then a teen girl, when she meets R. Kelly. Lisa, what happened when you got to Chicago?
Initially, when I got there, being so young, it was a bit exciting to travel to another city and to meet, him and to hang out and hear his music and things like that. But soon after that, that kind of died down because he asked me to do a threesome with him. And the way he got me to do it was because he had never had one before. And with me thinking that I'm his girlfriend, I felt, kind of obligated to do that for him if he had never had one before and he's a superstar. You know what I mean? I'm like, girls are always throwing themselves at him and he's never had one before, so I'll go ahead and do it, for him. We had the threesome, and after we had it, it just became just something that he always wanted to do. threesomes with different girls.
So what happened?
I would get very upset. I'd cry more often than not. I'd cry about it, and he would always try to give me like pep talks about how, you know, it was just sex and it didn't hold any emotion to him, and how a lot of times he didn't know the girls' names. You know, if I could just do it and get it over with, you know, so it would be a lot of trauma involved for me because, you know, it was something that I didn't want to do, and I felt, you know, that I had to do it for him, especially since I had already done it. You know what I mean? But, you know, once we did it more than once, I realized it was a lie, but I was already caught up into it, and I ended up living there with him. You know, he was taking care of me. You know, I didn't have my job anymore at the mall, you know, so it kind of was like I really didn't have a choice.
When he would try to give you, as you refer to it, as pep talks, you told me that he would say things like, if you love me, you wouldn't try to change me.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would say that. And he'd say things that he would say that after his mother told him. If a woman loves a man, she won't try to change him. So I'm thinking to myself, well, him and his mother would know better than me. If I'm, you know, I'm a child. What do I know about what a grown woman should do or what, you know, to please a man, you know? So I go off with what he told me. And I think I this is right.
At this time, you were 17, and how old was he?
31.
Okay, I guess that says it all right there. Levi Page, climbonline.com. Explain to me, how much time is he looking at if he's convicted on all counts?
I don't know the exact amount of time, but I mean, there's so many states here, Nancy. New York, Cook County, Chicago, Minnesota. These are federal charges, Nancy. And his lawyer is trying to get him out on bond. But the scary part about that is some of the charges that he's currently facing is, remember when he went on trial back in 2008 for that tape where he urinated on a young woman in a sex tape? He was acquitted of that.
You mean the 14-year-old
Yes.
girl? Yeah.
Remember, in that case, part of these charges is that he was paying off people not to testify against him, and that there were other tapes, and he and his associates were paying people large sums of money to get these tapes back. And if he's released, he could be scheming and plotting to pay people off in his current trial to intimidate people. So that's a big reason why he should not be out.
To Joyce Layton, renowned defense attorney joining me out of LA, what are the potential sentences in these cases?
So he's facing 4 prosecutions right now. 1 state prosecution in Chicago and Cook County. That means it's the people of the state of Illinois against him. And then in the other 3 prosecutions, he's facing federal charges, the United States government against him. For example, in just one of the cases in Chicago, the federal case, he's facing 149 years. So when you aggregate all these cases together, he's facing multiple life terms in prison.
Sentences in these cases.
So he's facing 4 prosecutions right now. 1 state prosecution in Chicago.
Hey, Purple,
County.
what's up, Mama?
That means it's the people of the state.
According to prosecutors, he's been holding women in his quote compounds, underage girls, and molesting them. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. Take a listen to what R. Kelly's lawyer tells me. It's hard for me to believe, Mr. Greenberg, that all of these women are, I assume you've seen the Lifetime special, Surviving R. Kelly, that they're all lying and your client is the only one telling the truth.
Sparkle told her story back when Mr. Kelly was arrested and charged here in Illinois more than a decade ago, and the jury didn't believe her then. She's just retelling the same story that no one believed. The young lady who she claimed was in the video said it wasn't her. The young lady's mother said it wasn't her. The young lady's father said it wasn't her. So, you know, I don't know why everyone wants to believe Sparkle when the people who are supposedly closest to the situation all say she's not correct.
Well, okay, you know what? Let's move from Sparkle, who, guys, Sparkle is the aunt of the 14-year-old girl in the video, according to the indictment. The jury said they could not determine that she was 14 or who she was. With me today is Lisa Van Allen, who lived with R. Kelly, who says she was picked out of a group of women on a video shoot, strippers, grown women. He comes straight over to a skinny teen girl and says, "How old are you? Will your mama let you come to Chicago?" She gets there and he immediately enlists her for sex and a threesome. Now, forget about Sparkle and the incident of the 14-year-old girl in the video who was having sex with R. Kelly and got urinated on. Now I'm talking about Lisa Van Allen, who's with me right now. You were there, Lisa.
Exactly.
What happened when he asked you to have a threesome with an underage girl, according to you?
Right. Yeah. When he would ask me to have a threesome, I'd cry. I'd get upset. And he would say, in one with the young lady that we're speaking of from trial, when I cried about that one, he got upset and said, "What am I going to do with this tape? What can I do with this? How can I watch this if you won't hear crying?" He really got upset that he couldn't watch that tape later with the face and 17 years on it.
Hit me.
He called himself the Pied Piper. Can his lawyer explain that? Do you know what the Pied Piper is? The Pied Piper is a man who lures children away from their family.
Do you, Steve Greenberg, know what the Pied Piper is?
I do.
Okay, what? If you know what the Pied Piper is, what is it?
I cannot explain people's nicknames, and that's not really.
You don't have to explain it. He doesn't have to explain it. The evidence is there. Go to Cook County Courthouse. How many women have you paid off that were underage? Do you pay off people when you're not guilty?
I think 12.
Do you do that when you're not guilty?
Or is that the right number, Steve? Steve, is that the right number? There have been 12 young women with whom he has reached civil settlements where he paid money to make their claim go away in civil court.
Nancy, beyond saying that people settle civil cases for all sorts of reasons, including the cost of litigation, any settlements, which I have never seen, are, my understanding when people explain them, are supposed to be confidential, and therefore I believe that if I was not involved in those cases if they exist, I wasn't a lawyer on it, and if I say anything about it, I would be subject to discipline from the courts here. So I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
Since Rob is not, since he believes that Robert didn't do any of these things, why don't they have Rob and all of us young ladies do lie detector tests? It'll prove who's telling the truth and who's not. I'm not saying in the court of law, just period, just recording.
Well, would he agree to a lie detector, Steve Greenberg?
I'll ask him.
Okay, everybody hold. With me is Lisa Van Allen, alleged victim of musical superstar R. Kelly, who created I Believe I Can Fly, and Steve Greenberg, R. Kelly's defense attorney. You've got Tiffany Hawkins, who filed a $10 million lawsuit against Robert Kelly. She says their relationship started when she was 15 years old and Kelly was 24. They settled for $250,000. Then you've got Epic Records intern Tracy Sampson. In a sex relationship when she was 17. That was a settlement. Patrice Jones sued for impregnating her when she was 17. And she says forcing her to get an abortion. They settled out of court. Montina Woods seeking $50,000 over sex encounter in his recording studio. Out of court, unknown settlement. Then there was the 14 counts of child porn. He was found not guilty on that. Then there was detailed allegations from parents claiming their daughter being held in a cult. Okay, then you've got, I'm losing my voice. Your Honda Pace says she met Kelly outside of his trial when she was 15, and he started inviting her over, and they started a sex relationship, and he would film the encounters. That ended, and there was apparently a settlement. Kenny Jones, Lizette Martinez. Well, I'm going to run out of time naming all these women. So none of those names ring a bell, Steve Greenberg?
Well, they all ring a bell, but for example, one of them you rattled off settled, sued because she was supposedly sexually assaulted in a studio, and she settled for 50 grand. I mean, 50 grand is a nuisance payment. The cost of someone like.
Can you believe what he just said? 50 grand is a nuisance payment. He's talking about Tracy Sampson. She was just a nuisance to just get rid of. It's just $50,000 to just shut her up. So he admits that R. Kelly, makes settlements to nuisance, according to him, right?
Like Mr. Kelly going to litigation.
So that's all.
Litigation is extremely expensive. And well, that's the one where
hey, Jackie.
I'm not a party to those agreements. If they exist, I wouldn't know. I could tell you that if anyone's talking about them and they do exist and they're breaching the agreement, so you've got people who signed it.
Steve, this is not about the women breaching an agreement. This is about the fact that R. Kelly has settled with, we believe, 12 women at least for claims of underage sex or sex harassment. But hold on, I want to go back to something Lisa Van Allen said. Does he call himself the Pied Piper, or do other people call him that?
He calls himself the Pied Piper. On song, he'll say it's the Pied Piper.
Okay, Lisa, if you could speak to R. Kelly right now, what would you say?
Say, stop hurting people. Stop hurting people. Why do you feel the need? They say hurt people, but that doesn't have to be true. I hurt on multiple occasions. I don't want to hurt people. I just can help people. Tell them to get help and stop hurting people. Send those girls home. If they're not being held against their will, let them go see their family. Let them go. And then they'll come back if they're not being held against their will. I always say it was me before Me Too, because I came out before any of these movements were out. And nobody was listening back in 2008. But now we have a second chance to come back around. He calls himself the Pied Piper of R&B for a reason. He tells us all of these names in his songs for a reason. He came up with age ain't nothing but a number for a reason.
We'll wait as justice unfolds. Nancy Grace, Crime Story, signing off. Goodbye for now.
With the women that have come forward accusing him of some kind of sexual abuse. We also know.
Give that as a gift, not another. Do you know another parent or expecting to be finding out when you're out at the mall with
real kind of sexual abuse? What we have learned from two sources who are familiar with the ongoings of the case is that there has been an indictment filed on Robert Sylvester Kelly, also known, of course, worldwide as the R&B singer R. Kelly. What we have learned over time is we first reported about the grand jury that had convened. We understand that that grand jury actually convened last week. It also convened this week, and that some of this has to do with the women that have come forward accusing him of some kind of sexual abuse. We also know that last week, Attorney Michael Avenatti was able to hand over a tape to the State's Attorney's Office here in Chicago. Indeed, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, as we understand it now from two sources, has indicted R. Kelly. We do not yet know, and we are efforting, trying to get a hold of the indictment to find out exactly what he has been indicted with. But this is a huge development. As you know, R. Kelly, back in 2008, went to trial. He went to trial on 14 counts of child pornography. He was acquitted in that trial. And in that trial, there was also physical evidence, including a tape, a videotape that prosecutors at the time says was a girl that was 13 years or 14 years old and R. Kelly involved in sexual acts that had been recorded by R. Kelly, but he was acquitted on those charges because the jury said they simply could not positively, beyond a reasonable doubt, end up being able to identify R. Kelly or the girl, even though they brought a lot of witnesses to say otherwise. There were witnesses in that particular case that said opposite things, and so the jury just was not able to go forward with the conviction. R. Kelly has always maintained that he is innocent of all the charges and accusations that have been coming at him for the past 20 years. Now, here we are in 2019, 11 years after that case went to trial and he was acquitted. We are seeing now more charges against singer R. Kelly.
You hear it from our friend Sarah Seidner. R. Kelly behind bars still hasn't made a $100,000 bond. What's the holdup? Robert Sylvester Kelly will spend another night behind bars. He has been indicted and booked on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sex abuse. Straight out to crimeonline.com investigative reporter. P.S. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. Robin Walensky, crimeonline.com investigative reporter, author of Beautiful Life, the CSI behind the Casey Anthony trial on Amazon. Robin, what happened?
Well, here's the story, Nancy. R. Kelly has been charged with the 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. These are allegations that stem from many years, from 1998 to 2010, involving 4 females, 3 who were at the time teenage girls.
Teenage girls. When you say teen girls, Robin Walensky, are you talking 13 or 19?
Oh, we're talking 13, 14, 15, young, very young, who idolized this man.
Guys, we're talking about R. Kelly, Robert Sylvester Kelly, age 52, set to spend another night in jail. Robin Walensky, crimeonline.com investigative reporter. Tell me about the arrest and the booking.
Well, here's the situation. R. Kelly turned himself in Chicago to the police department, and there were many, many reporters, both in mainstream news and entertainment reporters, all there shouting questions at him. Did you do it? Are you guilty? And he said nothing. He turned himself into the police, and he was booked. And then the next day, the judge, he had a bond hearing, and he was being held on $1 million bond, has to put up $100,000 cash to get out. And so far, Nancy, he hasn't come up with the money. Here's this guy who allegedly has all this money and is worth millions and billions of dollars, and he can't come up with $100,000 to get out.
We are talking about R. Kelly. In the last hours, he has been booked, fingerprinted. He is behind bars right now on 10 counts of aggravated sex assault. Prosecutors allege one of the women was an underage girl who Kelly solicited when he was on trial for child porn back in 2008. Let me introduce my all-star panel. Robin Walensky, crimeonline.com investigative reporter. Newcomer today, let the hazing begin. Brad Nicklin, New Jersey lawyer. Dr. Bethany Marshall, renowned California psychoanalyst. Vincent Hill, cop turned PI, author of Playbook to a Murder on Amazon. Jackie Howard here in the studio. Alan Duke joining you from LA. Brad Nicklin, you're the high-profile defense lawyer. According to sources, one of the women was an underage girl Kelly solicited while he's on trial for child porn back in 2008. Remember that, Brad Nicklin? What if your client jumped up and he's on video with a 14-year-old girl having sex and then urinates in her mouth? I mean, I didn't want to say that, but that's the truth. That's what happened, Brad Nicklin. And during that trial, he solicits another underage girl.
Well, if it's true, Nancy, it's obviously repulsive. But with regard to the current charges facing him, there are many issues that they need to get past first. There are going to be statute of limitation issues because a lot of these actions were back in the late 90s. You got this documentary out that's going to change the jury pool. And then Avenatti with his hands into the evidence before the prosecutors even get to it. So I think long before we start to judge him on whether or not he did this, we have to see whether there's a basis for him to move forward on it.
Okay, first of all, the only thing that I heard that makes carries any water with me is the Avenatti issue. You know what? Avenatti has seemed to land in the middle of every controversy he's involved with. The Stormy Daniels issue. Then he somehow injected himself in the Me Too campaign. And now this. I have a problem with him having state's evidence first as well.
What's up, Tiz?
But that aside, This is a very interesting fact, Brad Nicklin, and I did not know this until I started very carefully researching the law. The law has changed in multiple jurisdictions where the statute of limitations no longer applies in cases like this, and it's retroactive, which I was very surprised about, which means that if you commit a crime, say you committed the crime in 2000, the 2000 law doesn't apply anymore. You get the 2019 law. That's very rare under our Constitution, but it's happened. So statute of limitations is not going to help him. To Dr. Bethany Marshall, renowned California psychoanalyst, Dr. Bethany, I mean, the nerve. While he's on trial for child porn, got a jury, the works. According to these prosecutors, he solicits another little girl.
Nancy, he's compulsive. I mean, he is a sex predator. Predators predate. The attorney who was giving the presser this morning kept talking about the fact that there was more than 5 years age difference between him and his victim. She said it again and again and again. And what that tells me is she's trying to say he's not your average run-of-the-mill sex predator. He is a pedophile. The criteria for pedophilia is that there is more than 5 years age difference between the offender and the victim, and that the victim is prepubescent. Now, the youngest one was 13 years old, so she was on the cusp. But as you just mentioned, there was that other case when he was brought up on charges of child pornography. So this guy just can't stop himself. His whole life is organized around the compulsion. And I think, Nancy, that this is why he doesn't have any money. How can you make money when all you want to do is have sex with little kids? It ruins your entire life. This is all he can do. He's a talented musician, but I bet most of his waking hours are thinking about obtaining access to children and having sex with them.
Well, also, if reports are true, he is keeping up at least 6 different properties in the Atlanta area alone, plus whatever he's got going on in Chicago, housing all of these women that are in his harem. And that is a euphemistic way to put it. You know what? Let me just put it like this. I told many a jury, and Brad Nicklin is going to shudder during this, the story at the end of the closing argument about Mr. Scorpion and Mr. Turtle. Mr. Scorpion meets Mr. Turtle at the side of the river and says, "Please, just carry me across." And Turtle says, "Oh, no, Mr. Scorpion, because you will surely bite me, and we will both go to the bottom of the river and I will die." But Scorpion says, "I promise, why would I kill myself?" So begrudgingly, Turtle takes him across the river. Halfway across, Turtle feels a pain in his neck. And he says, "Mr. Scorpion, you bit me. Now we will both die." And Scorpion says, "I can't help it. It's just my nature."
Earlier today, Robert Kelly was indicted before a Cook County grand jury on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 victims. The first victim, initials HW, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 26, 1998 and May 25, 1999. A grand jury returned an indictment on 4 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. The second victim, initials RL, was involved in an incident which occurred between September 26, 1998 and September 25, 2001. A grand jury returned an indictment on 2 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victims being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than that victim. The third victim, initials LC, was involved in an incident which occurred February 18, 2003. A grand jury returned an indictment on 1 count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the transmission of semen by Robert Kelly upon any part of the body of the victim for the purpose of sexual gratification during the course of an underlying felony of attempt criminal sexual assault. The fourth victim, initials JP, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 1st, 2009 and January 31st, 2010. The grand jury returned an indictment on 3 counts 3 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. Aggravated criminal sexual abuse is a Class 2 felony with a sentencing range of 3 to 7 years per count. It is also probationable. We anticipate that Mr. Kelly will appear in bond court tomorrow afternoon. Thank you.
You are hearing the prosecutor outline all of the charges against R&B star R. Kelly, Robert Sylvester Kelly, and right now he's sitting in the can. There's just no nice way to put it. He's behind bars trying to drum up the money to make bond. Joining me, Robin Walensky, Vincent Hill, Dr. Bethany Marshall, and Brad Nicklin. To Vincent Hill, cop-turned PI, author of Playbook to a Murder on Amazon. You know, they go all the way back to 1998 for these claims, which show me the statute of limitation is not in effect based on new legislation. A lot of defense attorneys, and probably including Brad Nicklin, but certainly R. Kelly's lawyer, is going to argue to a jury that these claims are so old, why are they just coming forward now? You know, a juror might fall for that, but there are other counts as well. Vincent, what did they have to do to get this information, to get the evidence to show the case?
Well, Nancy, I'm glad they did update the statute of limitations for these gruesome crimes. I mean, this reminds me of a Monica Lewinsky. You heard you got semen on dresses, you got semen on shirts, you got semen on blouses. So the physical evidence is there. Thankfully, if we can get past these statute of limitations, we can actually get a conviction. And it's no wonder he's still sitting in jail and he can't come up with $100 grand. He's been paying off women for years. He foreclosed on his house in 2012 because he had to go and pay off these women in civil cases. So it's no wonder he's sitting in jail, and that's where he belongs, quite frankly.
Exactly. That's why he's been so broke. Because he's been paying off all these lawsuits. All these years, he's still paying things off. And he has to pay his own bills. And he has to pay taxes. And he has to pay child support. This is why he's broke.
To Dr. Bethany Marshall, renowned California psychoanalyst, Dr. Bethany, you would think after the first jury trial, where he's actually brought up on felony charges of creating pornography with a girl 14 years old, you would think that that would stop him. But it didn't, according to prosecutors.
Offenders offend again and again and again, and they organize their entire lives around the compulsion to offend. Like let's say a lesser compulsion, let's take, for example, alcoholism. An alcoholic might get a job as a bartender. A pedophile might get a job as a priest or as a school teacher. A sex offender pedophile might become a musician so he can lure little girls. And he will remain undeterred even when he has to pay out settlements. This is what we saw with Michael Jackson. Remember? Settlement after settlement with little boys, but the crimes went on and on. And that's because there's also something called institutional sociopathy.
Thank you, baby.
One sociopath bands with another and bands with another. These people like R. Kelly, and we saw this with Harvey Weinstein, they surround themselves with people who accommodate to their crimes. So they are aided and abetted all over the place, and that's why the offending pattern never stops.
You see what she said? He got people who aid and abet him. Why would he stop? Why would he stop? If he knew he got away with it the first time, and those people, certain people stuck around, they aided, they abetted him, and he continued because the people around him allowed him to, including the record label. He should have been stopped a long time ago. And all these other people that are getting caught, and these women are standing up and coming out. It's a good thing that they are coming out. I understand some people are like, oh my God, it's like that happened 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Well, you know what? That person had the courage to come out now. Why? Because this is the time we are living in, where women are standing up and finally opening up to their abuse. And men. It's not just women. It's men, boys, and girls. People get abused all the time. It's just having the courage to come out. You know, it's embarrassing, especially when you know the person. It's embarrassing for everyone, not just you, them too. And we, the victims, still want to protect the person because we might love them or care for them. And we don't want to see them get hurt. So, fuck it. We'll let ourselves continue to be hurt. As long as we're all protected and nobody knows what's going on, then it is what it is. And hopefully we sit and pray that it'll stop one day. That's what it is to be a victim. It doesn't matter how you act after the trauma. What matters is how you heal.
New Jersey lawyer, high-profile defense attorney Brad Micklin joining us. Brad Micklin, what do you make of the fact that some of the charges date back to 1998? And how would you attack that at trial?
Well, and that's going to be a problem. I mean, he's got, at this time, several victims and several entities. So you first attack the statute of limitations because in Illinois, the limitations depend on whether or not there's corroboration, the age of the offender, and the relationship that R. Kelly may have had with them. You know, was he in a position of authority or were they personally acquainted? So as a defense attorney, you're going to attack each specific event, each specific victim and date to try to knock out some of the claims. It's not going to be a slam dunk on a statute of limitations issue, but at least you can get rid of some of the offenses and some of the victims and reduce what you're facing at trial.
Guys, when Brad and I are talking about statute of limitations, what that means is under our jurisprudence, under our Constitution, after a certain period of time, years, cases can no longer be prosecuted. They're deemed too old. The evidence is no longer as valid as it was before. That's the rationale. So you have a limit on how many years pass until you can no longer try the case. This is what we know. Singer R. Kelly spending another night behind bars. So far, he has not made bail to get out. Prosecutors alleging he solicited underage girls for sex, even while he was on trial for child porn. While he was on trial back in 2008, according to prosecutors, Kelly still found time to talk to fans, to sign autographs, to take photos, and meet an underage girl he invited to his home, and according to them, solicited for sex. Other accusers include a little girl who met Kelly at her 16th birthday party, and a hairdresser who expected to braid the singer's hair only to find out he wanted a sex act instead. It goes on and on and on, but now he's really looking at a heap of trouble. Now, this is the person you don't want to have a fender bender with and see Gloria Allred get out of the car in front of you. Oh, no, you do not. Listen to this.
We have an appointment today with the New York City Police Department, who have as asked to meet with Faith in furtherance of their investigation into potential victims of R. Kelly. We will offer our full and complete cooperation in their investigation. Prosecutors in Chicago and Atlanta are also seeking information from potential victims, and we plan to offer them our cooperation as well. Mr. Kelly, you may soon join the ranks of Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, just as they have been and are being held accountable for their actions. You also must be accountable.
To Robin Walensky, author of Beautiful Life and crimeonline.com, investigative reporter, where you can find this and every other breaking news item in justice and criminal law. Robin Walensky, how did Gloria Allred get involved?
Well, Gloria Allred is now representing one of the underage girls who has claims against R. Kelly. You know what, Nancy? When I been researching this case and covering it over time. What comes to my mind, though, about this, remember what your grandmother used to say to you? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Now, all of these are allegations, but you start building your case, and it goes back to 1998, and then, there's stuff prior to that, and then it goes on and on and on.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, y'all. There's a lot of smoke. A lot of smoke. That means there is fire. That's a fact.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. Meanwhile, Gloria Allred, again, you don't want to tangle with her, involved in representing one of these underage girls.
Enjoy your night out, lovely. So,
ethic like nobody else. Gloria Allred, when she gets a hold of your case, it's like a pit bull's got a hold of you. You got to get pliers. You got to get a utensil to get her jaw off your case. Joining me, Brad Micklin, Dr. Bethany Marshall, Vincent Hill, and Robin Walensky. So let me understand this, Robin Walensky. This guy, he's a music sensation, he's an icon, can't put together the bail money.
Yes, quite incredible, isn't it? Here's a guy who wins 3 Grammys for his songs. He's writing songs for other famous artists. He's got all these videos. He's got all these homes. He's got all this fame. He has all this fortune. And oh, by the way, I can't come up with $100,000.
It's actually $250,000 bond for each of the 4 women. That's $1 million bond. So he's got to come up with $100,000 in cash. Kelly's lawyers asked for a lower bond amount, arguing that his finances are a mess because he has just been dropped by another record label. But so far, that hasn't happened. The bond remains at $1 million. I want to outline exactly what the charges are. To Dr. Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst out of Beverly Hills, he is accused of basically...
I agree, lovely.
Homes, townhomes, condos, at least 6 of them, where he houses young girls. They start around age 16 or so, or younger, and they live there for years. Everything they do, their food, what they wear, is controlled. They're given cell phones that can only dial R. Kelly or his hitch people. They cannot come out of their rooms or go into the hall. They have to ask to go to the restroom. And apparently there is a den mother of sorts that explains to these young girls how they are to accommodate R. Kelly's demands, what he wants them to do. And if that video was any indication of what he wants them to do, urinating in their mouth,
disgusting.
I'm just very surprised it's taken so long, Dr. Bethany. How did it get this far, and what do you perceive of the acts that he is committing?
Well, okay, Nancy, you know that sex offenders on average offend for 17 years before they come to the attention of law enforcement or before they're incarcerated, prosecuted. So I'm not completely surprised by this. Look how long everything went on with Harvey Weinstein before he was prosecuted. But Nancy, we have to frame our thinking appropriately about what R. Kelly is doing. This is not a school teacher in a classroom that has targeted a minor and is obsessed with that minor. This is a leader of a sex cult. That's what he fancies himself as being. This is a Warren Jeffs. This is a David Koresh. This is a John of God. This is somebody who has amassed wealth, property, compounds, so he can bring as many women in as possible as a part of his harem. And then as with leaders of any cult, he systematically cuts them off from financial and social support. He prevents them from calling their families. He begins to deprive them of food, clothing, and autonomy, and slowly he brainwashes them over time. So we're so fascinated by the sexual aspect of the sex cult that we forget that he is a run-of-the-mill cult leader, as any other cult leader would be, again, cutting off his victims from outside support. He wants to be the sole supplier of everything in their lives. And I think he believed that this would go on and on and on. coming into an obsession like this, Nancy. He's supporting scores of women and paying off other women at the same time in their families.
Brad Nicklin, he's got another.
I agree with you, James, too. A lot of times they come back out and do the same exact thing. And that's because a lot of them, when they get arrested, they do short time, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They come out, they do the same thing. While they're in jail, they're, getting pleasured by other inmates or constantly whacking off on their own, masturbating and trying to get off all the time because they need to, because they're sex addicts. It's a lot. It's a lot. And they come out and they commit the same crime. Not always, people can be reformed, with a lot of good therapy, things you can change. Who knows for R. Kelly? But yes, I agree. If he would have got caught in 2008, he might have changed. Who knows?
Problem. With me, a veteran trial lawyer out of New Jersey jurisdiction, Brad Nicklin. Brad, he owes nearly $200,000 of child support. So his money problems don't start with just his bail issue. Now, according to court documents, he owes almost $200,000 in unpaid child support. And catch this. The court ordered R. Kelly to make monthly payments of about $20,000 back in 2009. He didn't even show up at the hearing, according to the court documents. Now, to avoid being held in contempt, a judge ordered he pay the entire amount, $161,000, by March 6th. Of course, he didn't do it. And Greenberg, his defense lawyer, says he doesn't have to pay the child support before getting out of jail on this. I bet the court will disagree with that, Brad Nicklin. I think the court's going to hold him until he pays the child support plus the bond.
I agree, actually, Nancy. I think even if they haven't ruled that way now, I think the family court should be making some decisions about not only what happens when he gets released, but what happens when he does post the bail and comes to court. What happens to the $100,000? Does it get returned to him, or do we attach it and take it and pay it over to the child support, which I think is what ultimately will happen in this case.
Mm-hmm. That's some good maneuvering right there. So he wouldn't have to pay both. I don't know if the court will go for it, but it sure is a good theory. Joining me, Robin Walensky, Vincent Hill, Dr. Bethany Marshall, and Brad Nicklin. Vincent, I noticed Atlanta jurisdiction has not prosecuted anything, and they allegedly know of about 6 compounds that R. Kelly has in metro Atlanta. So what does Cook County, Chicago have that Atlanta doesn't have?
You know what, Nancy, that's an excellent question, because I wondered the exact same thing. And I want to expand on a little bit of these charges, man, too. I read the indictment, and I've read where it said he choked women, he spat on women. Listen, when I was a cop, I arrested people for that, for aggravated assault. So I don't know why there's not at least an aggravated assault charge thrown in here, and maybe even out of Atlanta, out of Fulton County or DeKalb County.
Guys, we are talking about R. Kelly, the music superstar, behind bars at this hour, trying desperately to make bond.
Those parents are desperately pleading for their daughter to come home, claiming she's being held captive, but she says she's perfectly fine, and R. Kelly's attorney swinging back. This morning, the family of a woman allegedly living with embattled singer R. Kelly speaking out, saying their daughter is being held against her will in Chicago.
And who knows how to manipulate young girls and make them feel like that's all they have.
21-year-old Jocelyn Savage on several occasions denying she's being held captive, even appearing without Kelly in this TMZ video from last summer.
People are saying, captive and hostage. Well, obviously that's not true. I'm out here, enjoying life and doing my own things.
I need to get to my daughter because I know she's been coerced.
Kelly's attorney slamming the assertion Savage or any other woman is being forced to stay, tweeting, "Relax, America." Today, CPD visited R. Kelly at home and spoke to the 2 young ladies who live with him in private. Both told the police they are great, not hostages, not abused, not victims. Chicago PD confirming that welfare call, telling ABC News the women stated that they were not being held against their will and both in good health and spirits. There was nothing out of the ordinary with the residents, and the officers closed the call as unfounded. Kelly caught in a web of controversy. A number of women recently coming forward in the scathing Lifetime docuseries Surviving R. Kelly.
Can you describe the physical abuse?
Kelly's defense team defiant in the face of allegations of controlling and abusive behavior.
Man was not operating a harem or a sex cult or holding people hostage or anything like that.
Now threatening legal action.
For defamation, because people should be able to do this to someone.
But a different picture from Jocelyn Savage's parents, desperate to reunite with their daughter.
We just want to sit there and hold you, make sure you're fine, make sure you're okay.
A-list artists are now voicing their concern after that docuseries. Christina Aguilera throwing her support behind Lady Gaga's decision to pull her collaboration with R. Kelly from streaming services. Kelly's attorney, as you heard there, promising this legal battle is far from over.
You're hearing our friend at ABC's GMA, that was correspondent Ariel Reshef, explaining in a nutshell what's going down right now. R. Kelly, the music superstar behind bars, trying to make bond on serious felony counts of aggravated sex abuse. So far, he hasn't made bond, but I predict that he will. You know, another issue, Robin Walensky, that Vincent Hill and I were discussing, the difference between Chicago and Atlanta prosecutions is something very, very critical, Robin.
It is critical, Nancy, because see, in Chicago, we're told that there are videos, there's DNA evidence, there's lots of stuff that they're going to produce at trial. Here in Atlanta, my understanding is that they don't have all of that. And my understanding is that the Savage parents, who you just heard there in the clip, they're very concerned about their daughter Joycelyn, as they pronounced her name. And there's an interesting little nugget in that when that statement came out, where the daughter and the other women say, oh yeah, we're fine. There's a misspelling of Joycelyn's name in that document. So the parents do not even believe that the daughter was ever asked, did she ever write that she's fine? They don't even believe that it's her in her own words. They believe it's the R. Kelly PR machine that's making statements on behalf of these women who are living in his home. But here in Atlanta, they do not have the mountain of evidence that they do have in Chicago.
To Brad Nicklin, New Jersey lawyer, trial veteran. Now, prosecutors say R. Kelly would spit on the victim, slap the victim, choke her, ejaculate on her. She actually saved a shirt from one of the incidents and turned it over to police, who find a DNA match to R. Kelly. This is according to prosecutors, Brad.
That's one of the issues when you look at this case. There's so many distractions from what the real facts and issues of this case are. We have this cult enterprise. We have this. He's being charged with aggravated criminal sexual abuse, which is a serious level felony. But lesser included is criminal sexual abuse. There's assault. If any of these victims do have corroboration evidence or do testify credibly before a jury, there are many other offenses that he can be convicted. We just keep looking to this aggravated criminal because the allegations are so egregious. But he's facing serious problems no matter what turns out to be the truth.
We are talking about R. Kelly sitting behind bars right now. If he is convicted on all counts, R. Kelly could face up to 70 years behind bars. Arraignment has been scheduled for February 8. To Dr. Bethany Marshall, California psychoanalyst, how do you expect him to present in court?
Oh, Nancy, he'll be calm, cool, and collected. You know, what I was reading this morning is he was just staring at the floor.
You see how he was saying there's a lot of distractions in this case? He wasn't lying. Like, there really is a lot of distractions in this case. And it's crazy how a lot of it is coming from his supporters. These YouTube people in these streets and his supporters. Like, it's crazy.
Or sociopaths are very charming and affable. They don't have a sense of wrongdoing. He doesn't think he hurt these victims. He thinks he owns them. And, you know, as far as Chicago Child Protective Services calling on one of the compounds, and the girl said, hey, we're fine. Of course, they're going to say they're fine. They've been brainwashed by him. They're victims. He has made them believe that he is the sole provider of everything good in their life. and that without him, they'd be nothing. He was engaged in turning discourse, turning them away from their families and away from the community. So a welfare check is never sufficient in a case like this. We're going to see a different R. Kelly in court than he shows his victims. With his victims, he thinks he has power over them. In court, he's going to be nonchalant, arrogant, and act as if he did absolutely nothing wrong.
A lot has been made about the entry of Michael Avenatti, attorney. Listen to what he has to say.
What's different about the evidence that is now in the hand of the state's attorney versus back in the 90s?
Well, the quality of the video evidence that we have provided and that we're also going to be providing, we're going to be providing some additional evidence here shortly, I think is far superior than what prosecutors had at their disposal back in 2008. We provided the names and testimony of a number of witnesses. There's documentary evidence. There's a mountain of evidence relating to these criminal acts by R. Kelly, and I don't think that he nor his enablers are going to be able to rig the system like they did in 2008. After 25 years, it's over.
Does the statute of limitations come into play here? Because R. Kelly's attorney said a lot of this is based on a VHS tape. Are these old accusations?
Well, no, they're not old accusations. And in fact, the Illinois legislature had the good foresight and thought back in 2017 to amend the statute of limitations to basically make it unlimited. There was a prior amendment prior to that in 2010. I don't think there's any statute of limitations problems. And I don't think there should be a statute of limitations as it relates to taking advantage of and sexually abusing and assaulting young girls.
Do you have any information about whether or not Kelly's insular circle is starting to turn on him?
There's no question that the people that have surrounded him for many years are starting to turn. And in fact, like I said, I represent two whistleblowers that had knowledge of R. Kelly, were close to him at one point in time. They've turned, and I envision that a number of other individuals will turn in the coming weeks and days.
You are hearing Michael Avenatti, attorney, speaking to WGN there in Chicago. So to Brad Nicklin, speaking of his entourage, his posse surrounding him, who basically, many people argue, enabled all of this, like they did Harvey Weinstein and others, they better cooperate or they're looking at jail time as well, Brad Nicklin.
Well, that can't be the case. I mean, if these allegations are true, whether one or all of them, certainly there are going to be people that have knowledge and facilitated this and cooperated. But when you listen to Avenatti, I mean, he's so far beyond the scope of this case. He speaks of his clients, 6 clients, only 2 of them are victims. 2 of them are parents, the other 2 are whistleblowers. He's creating this circus, and it's distracting from the actual case. It has nothing to do with the 2008 trial, which he's now saying was rigged, and I'm sure he has no proof of that either. But he's just going on whatever he can to sensationalize these allegations, and it's distracting from the simple case that we have 4 victims, and we need to decide whether they are going to be prosecuting R. Kelly based on these allegations or not. Not going back to 2008, not going back to his enterprise, his cult enterprise, or these other people. We're not focusing on whether or not he's actually guilty of these offenses.
We wait as justice unfolds. R. Kelly back in court, Feb 28. Nancy Grace, Crime Stories, signing off. Goodbye, friend.
Hey, shorty, you back? Oh, Rockin', you back? What's up, mama? Exactly, T-Bam. Not the same tapes, and it's within the statute of limitations. James, leave her alone. We analyze everything over here. You know this. Hey, Truth. What's up, mama? What's up, baby? So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hey, everybody that's in here. It's in the building. OCOV family. What's up, my loves? And hello, everyone who's chilling with me in the bushes. My loves in the back, too. The haters as well. What's up? What's happening? Now I wanted to go through the where is it? Oh Lord. Okay, espérate. Is it window? No. Okay, hold on. Let me figure out how I could share this. Oh, she called you the police. Listen. We the police over here. Whatever. We be trying to, we the detectives. We be trying to figure it out. Yes, we are detectives. Yes. We the police. We the police. Oh, you out grocery shopping, mommy? I'm in the middle of cooking. I'm about to start my chicken. So I'm gonna do a quick little commercial real quick. And I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, let me just figure out how I share the screen. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how I share the screen here. Okay, hold on. Ain't it supposed to be the window? Wait a minute. Okay. Where is it? Oh, Lord. Okay, give me a second, you guys. Give me a second. I'm having a moment here. Okay, maybe I have to open it and then, okay. Let me close this. Maybe that's what's confusing me. Let me see. I'm going to get it together, guys. Hold on. Yes. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, let me see if I can... Okay, you guys can see that, right? All right. All right, you guys can see that on my screen. Oh, wait, let me fix this. Okay. All right. Wait, no, wait. Oh, no, wait. Where is the... Okay, hold on, guys. Something happened here. Shit. Hold on. Hold on, I gotta find it now, damn it. Oh my God, I lost the file. Where did I do the file? OMG, guys. How come it's not? Oh man, hold on 1 second, y'all. I gotta get the paperwork out again. Hold on. But for some reason it's not. I think I might have misspelled it here. Oh, give me 1 second, guys. Oh, it did. Is this it here? I hope it is. Let me see. One of these has to be AM. Okay. This is it here. I found the let me is okay. Where is it? Okay, how the hell do I get this out? Okay, full screen. Now I get it. Okay, there we go. All right. Figured out how to do it. Got it, guys. Sorry. All right. I'm going to set it up and then I'm going to step off for a quick second because I hear my stuff, my oil popping. I'm making mashed potatoes, chicken gravy with breaded fried drumsticks. So that's what we're eating for dinner today. In case y'all want to know what Diva's cooking in the kitchen. Feboy, what's up, my puppy chulo brother? What's up, my brother? All right. In the meantime, we're gonna go to a quick break. So give me a second, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
With no delaying to what you saying, yo. Said it with my 9 million with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, like we while in the studio. You don't wanna vibe me, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. Like a nigga that'll slap me with the toolie, yo. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, look at shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, make me wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no delaying to what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really my heart to me. Seats what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Seats what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva the divine light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. On the combo.
Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
Know your lane for what you saying, yo. Silly with my 9 million with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, I be wild in the studio. You don't wanna violate, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. Like a nigga that'll slap me with the tulio. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, nigga, shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, make me wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no delaying for what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva, the Divine Light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you really not hard to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Jump up, dollar in the place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. On the combo.
Sorry, guys. Give me one moment. I'll be right with you. I'm shaking my last chicken, okay? Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that, y'all. You cooked turkey stir fry and about to stuff it in red and yellow peppers. Nice. Sounds good, T-Bam. No cooking today. All right, that was me yesterday. I didn't cook yesterday. You all saving the big meal for tomorrow. James, fixing appetizers food for tomorrow. Okay, for Super Bowl. I was trying to get my son to buy hot wings, and he talking about me frying wings. What? I wanted to say like everyone else. Right. Hey, West Coast Bay, too. What's up, mama? Which one is this one? Misha or Ty? Oh, snap. Rocket, they expected us to be in the kitchen all the time. That's so true. Girl, that's me. Always. Yes, yes. So, okay. So now, guys, you see the screen. I don't know if you can see it clear, if it looks good to you. It might look fuzzy or blurry a little bit. But this is the Pro Fur, Bond Pro Fur, which is for the state Chicago case where he has 4 victims there. 3 are minors and 1 is an adult. And we know that the 3 minors are Geronda Pace, Rashonda Landfair, and Heather Williams. And as far as the 1 adult, it was Lanita Carter. So these are the girls that are in this case, which is the Chicago state case for sexual aggravated assault. Okay, which, as Nancy Grace explained, holds anywhere between, 3 to 7 years each charge. So he can get 3 to 7 for each charge. So let me read it. Let me go to it. Okay. So it says the defendant, Robert Kelly, date of birth, January 8th, 1967, age at DOI is 32 years old. So DOI stands for date of incident. So he was born in 1967, and at the time of the incident, he was 32 years old. The victim is HW. Age at DOI, which is date of incident, was 16 years old. Now, as you can see, he's more than 5 years older than her. So therefore, the statute of limitations on sexual assault against victims, there is no statute of limitations, according to Nancy Grayson, which she said they changed the law in 2019. So these laws pertain to that. Okay? Past 2000 or something like that. Laws that have to do with 2000 or 2011 or something like that. And the date of the incident, now remember, R. Kelly's 32, Heather Williams is 16. Now the date of the incident was between May 26th of 1998 and May 25th of 1999. So it was in between that year, from 98 to 99, that in May, one of these times, this happened. The charge for her is aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim, which is a class 2 felony, which will give him 3 to 7 years. Okay. IDOC, I forgot what that is. And then it says probationable, and sentence concurrently to other counts. So these counts will run concurrent. Okay. And it says that the victim met Robert Kelly on her 16th birthday. So she just turned 16. She was 15 and just turned 16. It was her birthday. So Robert Kelly's manager then gave the victim Robert Kelly's business card with Robert Kelly's personal number written on it and told the victim Robert Kelly wanted her to call him. Now, the victim's mother heard this and took the card and told Robert Kelly's manager the victim was only 16. Now, the victim later got that card from her mother's purse and called Robert Kelly. So the young girl wound up going through her mother's purse and taking the number out. And then she called R. Kelly. And then R. Kelly told her to come to his studio. Then R. Kelly told her that after her father dropped her off at school, that she could take a cab to his studio. And she followed his instructions. And at the first encounter at his studio, located at 865 North Larrabee Street in Chicago, R. Kelly had difficulty maintaining an erection and penetrated her repeatedly in her vagina and oral. Afterwards, R. Kelly told her to get an envelope with money from the receptionist that the victim assumed was to pay for the cab rides to and from R. Kelly's studio. The envelope contained a large sum of money, more than was needed to pay for 2 cab rides. Now, the victim had similar sexual encounters about once a month with Robert Kelly from May 26th of 98 to May 25th of 99. So that's what happened there with Heather Williams. She was 16. He was 32. He was back and forth with her for a year. And once a month she would see him. Sorry, guys. I had to go check out my chicken. I just turned them. Now, second victim, the defendant at the date of incident was between the age of 31 and 34 years old. Victim, R.L., Rashonda Landfair. Age at the date of incident was 14 to 16 years old. The date of incident is between September 26th of 1998 and September 25th of 2001. So he started to molest her when she was 14 years old. It happened in September 26th of 1998. Now, let me give you guys a clue. Rashonda Landfair's birthday is in September. I forgot the exact date, but it's in September. He must have given her a birthday present. And the charge for her is aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim, which is a class 2 felony, and it requires a minimum to maximum of 3 to 7 years, and it's probationable, and sentence is concurrent to other counts. So, for those who keep saying that Rashonda Landfair has not gone to the FBI, she's not testifying, she didn't say anything, she's not going to say anything. Well, she went to the state. She heard Kim Foxx's call when Kim Foxx said, if there's anyone that has any or has been victimized by R. Kelly, please come forward. We need to take this man down for doing this to all these girls in Chicago or wherever you're from. But mainly the girls in Chicago because it's a state case. So she was calling the girls in Chicago to come forward. And Rashonda Landfair and Heather Williams were two of the girls who came forward. That started the whole thing after the documentary. Now, in 2001, a witness had conversations with Robert Kelly and Robert Kelly's associates, where the witness was asked to retrieve videotapes showing Robert Kelly having sexual intercourse with the victim in this case when she was 14 years old. The witness obtained that video and watched it. The witness eventually turned this video over to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office through his attorney. You heard? Listen to what that said. Now remember, Michael Avenatti brought in a tape, right? Right. Now listen to this sentence very clearly. The witness. Now remember, there was a witness who saw this tape. The witness obtained that video and watched it. The witness eventually turned this tape over to Cook County State's Attorney's Office through his attorney. So who do you think his attorney was? Michael Avenatti. Because once this happened, Michael Avenatti came out with the tape and said, blah, blah, blah. We got the proof, evidence that it was him on the tape with this 14-year-old girl. The whistleblower came forward. The whistleblower is this witness to this case. So I gather this witness is going to come forward and say how he got the tape, when he watched the tape, and that it was her and R. Kelly on the tape. So the witness has identified the girl in the video as the girl he knows to be the niece of Stephanie Edwards. Additionally, the witness identified the scenes from the video as having been from Robert Kelly's house located at 1 Marcos Lane, Olympia Fields, Cook County, Illinois. In the video, the victim repeatedly says she is 14 years old, and Robert Kelly is seen penetrating the victim orally and vaginally, and the victim performs oral sex on Robert Kelly. Stephanie Edwards has identified the girl in the video as her niece, the victim in this case. Next, we have the defendant, Robert Kelly, who at the time of the date of incident was 36 years old. The victim was Elsie Lanita Carter. Age at the date of incident was 24 years old. The date of the incident was February 18 of 2003. While he's awaiting trial, the charge, aggravated criminal sexual abuse, based on the transmission of semen by Robert Kelly upon any part of the body of the victim for the purpose of sexual gratification during the course of the underlying forcible felony of attempted criminal sexual assault. Class 2 felony, 3 to 7 years sentencing, minimum to max, and it's probationable, and the sentence is concurrent to other counts. Now, on February 18th of 2003, at 865 North Larrabee Street in Chicago, Cook County, Illinois, the victim was 24 years old and worked as a hairdresser for Robert Kelly. While the victim was waiting alone in a room for Robert Kelly to come in so she could braid his hair, Robert Kelly entered saying he didn't want his hair braided that day. He wanted his head massaged. At the time he said this, Robert Kelly had his pants pulled down, and he was pointing to his penis. Robert Kelly grabbed the victim by the head and tried to force her mouth onto his exposed penis, but the victim was able to resist. Robert Kelly then masturbated and ejaculated onto the victim and spit in her face several times. The shirt the victim was wearing was submitted to the ISP for DNA testing, and semen was identified on the shirt. And the male DNA identified in the semen sample is a match to Robert Kelly's DNA profile. So we have two shirts that have R. Kelly's DNA profile on them. He can't say he didn't do it. Can't say he wasn't there. He can't say it was my brother. Can't do none of that. Next, victim and final victim. The defendant, Robert Kelly, at the date of incident, was 42 to 43 years old. The victim is JP, as we know is Geronda Pace. And the date of incident, she was 16 years old. Now, the date of incident was between May 1st of 2009 and January 31st of 2010. The charge is aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. A Class 2 felony, which is 3 to 7 years. Probationable, sentences concurrent, 2 other counts. Now, the victim attended the criminal trial of Robert Kelly in Chicago in 2008 and met Robert Kelly getting his autograph after court one day. The victim told Robert Kelly how old she was, and he invited her to his house at 1 Marcos Lane, Olympia Fields, Cook County, Illinois, between May 1st of 2009 and January 31st, 2010. The victim had vaginal and oral sex with Robert Kelly multiple times. At times, Robert Kelly would spit on her, slap her in the face, and choke her. The victim saved one of the shirts she was wearing when Robert Kelly ejaculated on her and gave that shirt to the Olympia Fields Police Department. The shirt was submitted for DNA testing, and semen was identified on the shirt. Now, they didn't say it was a match, but we found out in the Eastern District of New York trial that it was a match, that it was R. Kelly's DNA. So that's what it is. So that is the state trial and what they're looking at. That's what they're looking at. Let's see what you guys said here. Okay, James. See you later, puppy. Thanks for stopping by. You already know. Yeah, everywhere RSK goes, he is looking for underage girls. Hashtag guilty. Definitely. 32-year-old messing with 16-year-old child. Dirty old bastard. Facts. I wish they know or name the actual people giving these girls his number while knowing exactly what RSK was doing. You know, a lot of these girls don't know who these people are that were giving them the numbers and stuff. They don't. So she probably just turned 14. Exactly, Rockin'. Rashonda Landfair was 13 and just turned 14 years old, like maybe a week or two. There's paperwork over there that says her exact date of birth. It's in one of those transcripts for the bond and stuff like that. The court's going to bury his ass. Definitely, Shorty. Yes, and lock all their sorry asses up. They are some brave ladies to come forth. Yes, they are. Knowing how the public treats the victims. Yes, they are. They are very brave. Very brave. And women need to continue to come forward. They do. So it was a male that turned in the tape. Yes, it was a male who turned in the tape. Yes, ma'am. He's never getting out. Time to pay the piper for real. It's facts. Yes, he has damaged so many. We will never know them all. Facts. We may never know them all. Wow, he will never stop. He was still doing it while on his first trial. Exactly. So it's like, who knows if he would have done time in the beginning, if he would have came out and reformed. he could have just still continued what he had to do. Because back then, if he would have gotten arrested and been charged and convicted, because he was arrested and he was charged, but he was never convicted. But if he would have been convicted, at that time, he was 30-something years old, right? He would have done 15, and it was probationable. So he could have gotten off with some type of probation, like done 10 years and then got off with probation after 10 years. So if, let's say he was 35, 37, he would have got out when he was 47, let's say. He was still young, still kicking it. He was still looking for girls. He found Azriel and Joy and Haley and all of them at that age. A predator is a predator at times, and they can't stop. And it's a shame. So he's done. He's done. Done. And as parents, we have got to do better. Sacrifice their children for some money. Yeah, a lot of these parents did that shit. They sure did. And then, there are parents who didn't know because the girls were sneaking around behind their parents' back. And then the parents found out afterwards. Once they were done with R. Kelly, they found out, because they went for settlements and stuff like that. And if they were underage, they had to be there with a parent. So eventually the parents did find out. Bye, R. Kelly. It was good. It was a good run, R. Kelly. It sure was, Papito. It was a good run. We was jamming to your bumping and grinding and all that shit, back then. We was doing the okay, making babies. Time's up. It's done. So, guys, if you like a commentary for today, y'all already know what to do. Hit your girl up. Hit her Cash App. Diva Divine Light. Donations are appreciated. You could Zelle me 347-664-9253. The information scrolling on the bottom of the screen. You can also PayPal me. And you can also super chat. Hit the little dollar sign in the chat line. And you can super sticker, super chat me. And if you guys ever want to call in, my call-in number is 347-336-9724. My email, if you want to send me any information, clips, anything informational pertaining to what we discuss, my email is diva.josh.32332@gmail.com. And just remember, guys, life is what you make it. And we over here at OCOV, we are going to keep our foot on R. Kelly's neck. And if you would like to donate to our brother, grown little boy, aka Larry, donations are appreciated. You can Cash App him and his family at $Cuphead40. And last but not least, if you would like to write R. Kelly, you can write R. Kelly at the MDC. I think there's another address, but this is the address here. And it's also his, I think we should start writing R. Kelly, guys. I think we should. I think we should write to R. Kelly and see if maybe we can convince him to admit his wrongs and maybe convince him to plead guilty. Maybe we can do that. Let's try to do that. The next time I'm going to find out exactly the exact address to write to him. Okay. But it's Robert S. Kelly and his number is 09627-035. The address is 80 29th Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11232. So, guys, do me a favor. Don't forget to hit that like button on your way out, okay? And if you are not subscribed to my channel, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you would like. Hit the notification bell on the side. Put it on all, you guys. Put it on all. And if you are watching the replay, make sure you leave a comment below if you would like to comment below the video. Share the video. Thank you, guys. And if you are not a member to my members only club, it's $1.99 a month. I do little exclusive things, drop little dimes. And we also would read books, and we can have discussions and things like that in the book club. Guys, thank you guys all for coming. I love y'all. OCOV, my family, my YouTube friends. Thank you for coming, stopping by, hanging out with your girl Diva. And Diva Divine Light is out.
Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
Know the lanes and what you saying, yo. I'm sitting with my 9 million with the dilly, yo. When I be on my yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, I be wild in the studio. You don't wanna violate, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. I'm a nigga that'll slap me with the toolie, yo. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, look at shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, nigga, wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no lanes and what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva, the Divine Light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. On the go ball.